Welcome back to the semifinals of Game Changers Rising. We have the two last teams remaining for the last slot at the finals in Paris. And tonight they will give their best in order to get their last chance possible to gain the title. I'm your host Roxales and I'm joined by my girls, by my gang, by Mile and Traveling. And I'm so happy to be here for this final round before we all pack our suitcases and go to Paris. I mean, Trouble is already there.
Well, I was about to say, I don't think I'm to blame for this. Definitely a producer is. But I've always wanted to say, LGC, 12 points.
Oui.
You did look like a Eurovision representative, so I took my chance.
I love that. I also love, if it would be the jury for that, I would give 12 points to everybody because we have seen so many incredible teams playing it out. And we also had a really interesting play there yesterday because also yesterday we went nearly to the Silver Scrapes. We had 4 amazing games with SK and SLYA battling it out for the slot to play against G2 today.
Yeah, and it was actually kind of close, at least if we look at the first few games. SK were completely running over SLYA Academy in game number 1. We can see that SLYA were trying to always find angles here because they had that scaling comp and they were waiting for that factor to come online, but they just did not get the time at all as SK had other plans and they just ran them over in game 1. And then afterwards, I felt like SLYA kind of took their time to wake up again, as we've already seen in other series as well. And then it became the SLYA show, right? They did not leave a lot of room to breathe for SK either, and we can see them always being on a very good same page. We were criticizing some of the picks in a sense that we're not used to them being so early game focused. However, yesterday that was the name of the game and they made it work through and through.
Yeah, and I feel like coming into this series, we kind of expected SK Avarosa to sort of have an upper hand, not necessarily due to performance, but due to form and strategy and whatever they were bringing into the Rift, I would say. I felt like they were more slow, more teamfight oriented. However, they were making just a couple of very small mistakes that SLYA actually giga-pounced on every single time. And once they got the slightest of an advantage in any fight, they just snowballed that out of control.
Yeah, I loved how daring SLYA Academy was yesterday in comparison to how we have seen them normally securing their win over SK Avarosa in this amazing best of 5. And if we directly take a look at our bracket, we can see that this means that we unfortunately had to say goodbye to SK Avarosa for good because SLYA and G2H are the remaining 2 teams that we're gonna have to find out who is gonna be the last slot for our Paris Games Week finale on the 31st of October, battling out against Eternal. And I have to say, I want to keep both of these teams. I really want to keep both of them. Who would you think in the end will make it to Paris, Mila? Who are you seeing there battling it out?
Honestly, I think it's so hard to tell at this point because I think all of us were sure that definitely G2 is going to be in finals, and now we're here and they didn't get that first chance. They did not get that first slot. So now I kind of feel like anything is possible. Also because this is kind of a rematch today. We have seen this a few months ago in Equal Esports Cup finals as well. And I have a really hard time picking. I think G2 are still a little favored, but honestly, anything can happen. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, anything can happen. And I had also the honor to talk to Kaltis before this pre-match. I would say we gotta listen into what she has to say and maybe what for learnings her team took out of their first loss. Interview.
Right.
There she is. Hello, Kaltis. Thank you for joining me in a quick pre-match interview for today's series against SLYA. First of all, nobody expected G2 to be here. You haven't lost a single series this year in the female scene. How did this lose affect you and your team?
Well, losses improve. I think we have some really good takeaways from the series, and we'll just go into the next one more prepared.
I mean, definitely, there's a lot of preparation that you have to do because also the series against Eterna was 5 games. What was the biggest takeoff that you had from the series, and what do you think do you have to change in order to beat SLYA today and make it to Paris?
I think all of the teams have gone into this tournament feeling very nervous. I think you can tell from even just watching, and I hope and I think that we got a lot of those nerves out of our systems in the last series. So that's already an improvement. And other than that, a lot of the mistakes that we didn't get punished for before have now been punished, so it's a bit easier to work on as well.
I mean, you just said that you had like, or need more, maybe more discipline going into the next game. How do you gonna use this discipline when you're going into the bot lane matchup today? Because we're gonna talk a lot about you and Clef being like the aggressive players or like definitely the carries in your team. How does this maybe affect the bot lane matchup? Are we gonna see some crazy picks coming out?
Mm, we'll see about that. I think discipline can come with aggression, of course. There's no such thing as being too aggressive. And yeah, I hope she picks something crazy because I will just play better.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see like maybe you picking the Callister and getting like the little mirror job coming in for today. Thank you so much for joining in this interview, Culters. I wish you a lot of luck later in the series and that you are able to get the last ticket for Paris. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. And we heard it, discipline is the name of the game for G2 coming into this matchup. And I think this is like very important because when we look at like this matchup of these two teams of G2 against SLYA today, I think there were like some oopsies happening in the first G2 game where they definitely had to get a bit more control into their game.
Yeah, I feel like when we're looking at the matchup in general, as we're slowly moving into the best of 5 ahead of us, I feel like there is like a big discrepancy in like the way those two teams are playing. I feel like particularly for G2H, I thought they were the favorites coming in. However, I found a few tendencies in their earlier best of 5s that we saw, particularly the one versus Eterna. I feel like my sights are set on Sina, sorry, in the jungle because I feel like she's very well focused into having those sort of invades as we are seeing. Okay, that's a draft later on. We're going to talk about this really, really soon. But yeah, my sights are on Sheena because actually I feel like she's very focused on getting those early advantages through invading. And a lot of the times you can very easily lose focus. However, versus Thorn, who likes picking more the scaling kind of champions that a lot in the jungle, I feel like that playstyle could very much be what G2H need to take that early game.
Yeah, and I think it's really important because also if you have like a jungler that can go like more aggressive, gives like more freedoms to their lanes, it also means that other players are able to shine. And we had one particular player, I think, shining especially from the top lane, Mila.
Yeah, for sure. I think we have actually two top laners here in this specific matchup that will shine in their own way. But of course, it was a little bit of the Zenith show, especially during the last match day. I feel like she always brings a very versatile champion pool, which makes her very, very interesting individually. But the thing is that people oftentimes wonder how well that can actually work out in a team comp, and if that is something that works out, right? Bringing a solo queue pick into a team comp like that. And these are some of the picks that we saw, the unholy trinity, as you so beautifully called it. And I think we can definitely say that Zenith always finds a way to make it work in her favor and make it work in a sense where she is a big support system for the team as well. So whenever she joins the team fight, it is like this new spark of energy coming in, and she's actually able to pick up so many kills of her own, which is very beautiful. This is a little bit of a highlight reel from her in that specific Vayne performance, where we can see she just has a good sense of how to space, where to go, how to kite everything, and then eventually, of course, picking up a little bit of a quadra kill her for herself.
And she's always going to be like the X factor coming into this game. So no matter what you're picking on top lane, no matter like how safe your tank is, there's always going to be a pick up the sleeve of Zenith and able to abuse it. On the other side, we had Pivotless yesterday being really honest with us. And she was like, yeah, I'm looking forward to facing Zenith. But overall, I think the biggest mistake that they made so far in the playoffs was that they had miserable early games. And that's exactly what happened against Zaren's Bloom 2. So far, they played 9 games. So hopefully they got like the experience now in order to improve their early game. And I think they already did yesterday, Trouble.
I'm actually very surprised because we saw a game from them where Thorn was playing Hecarim, and I saw her blowing Ghost level 5 just to see if she can get any summoners down bot lane right before she gets her ultimate to be able to actually milk that later on. And it was absolutely fantastic. I think she got double summoners from the support down bot lane. So even though Thorn does tend to have these tendencies where she goes for the hard farming champions that you'd expect to stick in the jungle clear, I feel like she always finds a way to have a more useful moment in the early game where she'll just sneak in a gang where you don't expect it. So I'm actually very excited because early games have been stabilizing a lot of the games for these teams.
Yes, and I really also loved how like every player kind of like stepped up to the occasion. And I think we have to talk a bit about the elephant in the room. I think I also mentioned it shortly in an interview with Kaltis, because yesterday Clef was playing completely out of her mind in those games, showing us picks that she hasn't been touched in a long time. And 39 KDA that she had on yesterday. I mean, I kind of left out the Smolder game, but overall a very dominant performance from Solarius bot laner.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like we talked about it massively. She even mentioned it in the chat as well, coming in being like, I had to play early game champions. What's going on? Because we always talk about the Clef effect, which of course means her on the scaling pick that will later take over the entire game. Yesterday was different. We've talked about it with Pivotless as well. And I think she definitely had the chance to show that she's a versatile player as well, because you, of course, don't want to put her into one corner and be like, this is all she plays and this is all she can do. She definitely showed us some different stuff yesterday. And I'm very excited to see how it's going to work out today, because I think the early game changes that they have made coming into the series against SK are definitely going to be very, very relevant coming into today as well. And I would expect that to be showcased in the draft as well.
Yeah, so Mile, would you say bot lane is the most important, or is there like another lane that you have in your eyes on today?
I'm definitely looking towards that jungle, girl, because I think both of these junglers, Trouble also kind of touched on it already, are very, very interesting. We know Sheena to be extremely aggressive. She loves to go forward. She loves to invade. She loves to be rent 3 in enemy junglers' heads. And Thorn, on the other hand, is taking a little bit of a more laid-back approach sometimes with her scaling picks.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And I feel like it's going to be an interesting matchup because of the way they like to play as well, right? Particularly when you look at the champion pool of Thorn. Again, you'd expect her to be a little bit more passive over in the early game, but she's not really at all. She gets the Jax going, she gets the Viego going, she gets the Hecarim going super early. And through those little advantages is, I feel like, where SLYA Academy really managed to stabilize through all those best offs that they've been playing so far, and how they've actually made it able to snowball that early game that we've been talking about, that Pivotless, it was abysmal. That's what she said. It was like their early game was abysmal. But I feel like through that, they've really been able to stabilize. Now for Sheena, I'm going to put my production right here on the spot and say, if we have that game 5 draft from earlier on, I can put it on the screen. I think I want to particularly set my eyes onto Sheena and that Volibear, because I feel like G2H, thank you so much, production. You're smurfing. G2H kind of run out of picks here. And I feel like another very important thing that SLYA particularly was talking about is that they have larger champion pools, they think, than G2H, than pretty much anyone else in the game. So I'm looking at those game 5s. I'm like, if it does end up going to game 5, I kind of trust SLYA to have more champions about to play rather than G2H. So I feel like G2H need to close this one out quickly.
I think that's actually very interesting because we've mentioned it briefly before. This is a rematch, right? We saw this exact thing happen about 2 months ago in Cologne at Gamescom, and it was a very close win for G2H, which was, of course, only a best-of-3 Fearless series, which is, of course, a different story. But already then we could see that SLYA brought in a lot of creativity, and that the game that they managed to win in that series was very convincing and very hard fought. And you can just see that they have the right spirits. And now, with all the development that has happened over the course of the past 2 months, honestly, I think there is a world in which SLYA can definitely beat G2H today.
Yeah, and I mean, we have just seen Eterna doing the unthinkable that nobody ever thought of. We all were like, yeah, we're definitely gonna see G2H at Paris. They're gonna be there, the first slot locked in. They were undefeated in their group stage, and now maybe it's just on the time for SLYA to kind of try to follow the same path that Eterna just laid out for them, trying to get more into the jungle pool, trying to get more into these early games, and they proved that yesterday. Really strong in the series against SK Varosa. So I'm really hoping we're going to see some more picks. Hope we see the Kalista again. Hope we see Thorn on the Viegos, on the Hecarims. But it will be, of course, all be solved in the draft. And we're going to go directly into it. Perfect! And we made it into the first pick and ban of our series.
I'm hyped. But I can already see that some things look pretty much the same as the last few days, right? There is some pocket picks getting banned out, like, for example, the Zoe against Rim. On the other hand, definitely don't want to see Pivotless on Poppy or Sion. And we immediately get that Orianna first pick, which kind of poses the question of maybe pairing that with a Nocturne in the jungle, just because it's the nice Wombo combo with Jarvan being banned as well. You want to get rid of it, it's open. Could be a possibility, but I'm very interested to see what Solari want to answer with.
I want to potentially even see something like the Wukong being taken away. Another great pairing together with the Orianna. And it actually has a lot of impact early on as we've seen it. The Hui being locked in, straight up out range Orianna. And that's one item when you have a bit of mana late on the champion, you kind of gain a bit of control of the waves later on. Now, the dice lies on Thorn right here because she can go completely crazy and go for like Nafiris and stuff like this. But I feel like with Nocturne open, I don't think it's kind of a good idea to lay out the Nafiri already. So potentially a little bit something more tame, or you just drop to 4-5 and just try to match through that.
And we haven't seen yesterday that like jungles dropped into the second phase. It was like the game that I think we all three didn't like the most because it got like really hard to find a suiting jungler for your team combo. I mean, here the Nocturne would be like kind of not like of a freebie, but the Jarvan has been banned out already. You have the Orianna to be like an easy engage opportunity. It will also give Sheena more of the opportunity to herself carry the early game way more. But apparently we're going for the Trundle, going again a more tank orientated route.
It's interesting because it's one of the few picks that they had in common if we look at the entirety of the tournament, right? There weren't so many picks because we saw their jungle pools can be very different, but this is one that both of them really enjoyed playing. So it's an interesting takeaway, I think, and it's kind of like a two-way street, right? On the one hand, Sheena likes this pick. On the other hand, you pick it away from Thorn. So win-win for G2H in this scenario. Question still is, what do they want to add on the side of Solari in order to match into it?
I kind of really like the Trundle right here because it instantly threatens the Hui mid lane. And we talked about Hui wanting to push out waves and probably roam or take control of river with the team. So I feel like Trundle right here, one of the most broken abilities in the game is that pillar. So you can very easily take flash of Hui, and Lilith is kind of like the stabilizer, I feel like, for her team, particularly in that mid game. The Zed getting locked into the Trundle, and I feel like SLYA Academy right here are falling towards the route of more the bruises rather than the tanks, because Subjugate is a really big tool from Trundle to actually turn tanks into paper.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting pick that we haven't seen so far coming out from Thorn. So it's definitely a new addition that maybe has been specifically prepared for this matchup in this exact moment and in this exact series. And I like to see it, that like teams try it more out. We have seen a few Zed jungles or like in general Zeds in the past. And I think it's definitely an interesting opportunity that if you try something out like this, you do it in the first game, right? Because if you lose it, you just tried something out, and it's okay if you win the game. Wow, then the pick worked. Congratulations.
Yeah, 100%. I'm still a little surprised because the Jax Hover came through, and that's, of course, something we have seen Thorn play a lot in the course of Game Changers so far. I think Zed is interesting. I only worry, on the other hand, because we always talk about how if you match something like Xin Zhao, for example, into Trundle, he's going to be, you know, minced meat at the end of the game because Trundle is just going to beat you until you don't want to play anymore. So I am a little worried. However, I do like that Zed is a very aggressive pick as well. And it kind of gives me hope that we can see Thorn move a lot towards lanes as well in order to either set up kills or pick them up for herself. On the second rotation of bans, we can see a lot of AD carries coming through on the side of SLYA Academy. They definitely want to, you know, be a little more careful with Kaltis' champion pool, which is a champion ocean, to say the least. But still some options left.
I'm seeing the Misfortune of Tristana right here, and my mind straight up goes to like maybe a Kaisa for the start of SLYA Academy. I can't help but feel like things like Tristana and Misfortune are not necessarily like that prominent in the meta right now, but they deal really nicely with short range AD carries that don't necessarily want to take trades inside the wave, which Misfortune and Tristana very well do because they have the ability to outtrade you. So we'll see if even Clef wants to go, even like something like the Kalista potentially, which she brought out earlier. I feel like the draft right here for SLYA Academy is trying to snowball the Zed early game because the Zed needs to be strong that early and then transition that lead towards over to the Hui and potentially the Sivir that Clef is looking in right here.
Yeah,
I just want to quickly point out that we have 4 bans versus pivotless. So G2H is really freaking scared of that enemy top laner.
They really are, and it also like takes away so many different picks from her. I mean, the Cassandra would be open. You might still get something like the Ambassador out, but they also have the luxury that they are red side, so they can just see what Zenith is gonna play on the top lane and then try to do their best and just avoiding that matchup or give the pivotless. I mean, something like the Rek'Sai that we have seen yesterday too.
Yeah, I feel like with the Trundle being picked over by Sheena, I think it would be a little bit off the rails to go with something like an Ornn right here from G2H. However, they're thinking that, hey, if they have an extra layer of non-committal engage as the Ornn ult, maybe that gets the Zed and the Rel into the backlash. They wanted to get rid of it. Now, I'm really wondering right here if G2H want to go for something like a tank over themselves, even though Zenith has showed us the Holy Trinity and the more bruiser types of champions. She's going to lock in the Jax over on the top side of the map. And with all those picks being taken away, I'm just wondering if we're even going to see something like a Renekton potentially coming out of pivotless right here.
It is an option. I mean, it's one of the picks that she has been playing in the past. It's definitely one that I personally have on my list, even though it hasn't been played too much within Game Changers yet. But they're leaving some space. Mundo, also something they have had in the past a few times. And I love this because it kind of also shows that Pivotless does have options, right? You have seen a lot of picks from her in the past few days. You may have seen some picks of hers within Equal Esports Cup, but there's still always another layer to her as a player, and I really, really like this from her as a choice. On the other hand, Jax also a pick that Thorn plays in jungle. I think G2H are very, very smart with drafting here. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and that Mundo is gonna get really, really beefy. I mean, you have the Yunara, of course. One day she will have enough damage to get that Mundo down. But of course, for like an Orianna for the Trundle, it's not that easy to pinpoint the Mundo down also because of his passive. So are we surprised? Are there like any real surprises that we're seeing on this draft, maybe except from the Z? Or did the teams kind of try to stay true to their identity, Trouble?
I feel like there's not many surprises apart from the Mundo. I'm looking at the Mundo later on and I'm like, if that Leona engages, Mundo will just run past everyone and just pin down Yunara and Orianna. So I feel like if Pivotless manages to have a really good laning phase, gets to her 5 Giants belts, grabs her Warmogs and starts pushing, it might get a very difficult game in the late game for G2H to come through.
And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that late game is going to play out because we talked about it. SLYA Academy have kind of adapted their playstyle. They wanted to go a little more early game focused. They do have a bit of a late game insurance with that Sivir coming in, which of course only scales with items, with time. But it is time for us now to go into that first game of the day. The semifinals are here. It's the rematch of Equal Esports Cup Finals 2 months ago. G2H versus SLYA Academy battling it out. Who's going to Paris? First game will be decided right here, right now.
30 seconds until minions spawn, like the kind lady said on the Rift. First game of our best of 5, super duper hype because one of those 2 teams will lock in their ticket for finals. Paris Gaming Week, a crowd, an offline event, a stage, a turnout waiting in the finals. And they're obviously watching. They're looking at which opponent is the strongest. How are they playing? Early games, very, very important for G2H. My eyes again onto Sheena. She played an incredible early game to try and deprive her enemies in the jungle off of their jungle camps. And seeing her walk towards the bottom of the map, I think they're preparing another level 1.
That's definitely looking like it. Very on brand for G2H here. And we can see SLYA immediately kind of respecting that. And Thorn, she might be in a bit of danger here as she realizes right now she cannot really contest that blue buff. Bot lane also a little unsure if they should go in or not. They end up placing a ward, but that's about it. And there's already a ward at the Wolves there as well for G2H, who now have absolute vision in enemy jungle. And that one is free for the taking for Sheena.
And I really like this because Sivir can actually try and now push early on with the Q and the Ricochet. Like her level 2 is actually really strong if you want to push out the wave. So knowing that you have Bundle behind you the entire time, Caldes and Colombo can take full control of that bottom of the map, which is very, very nice for the side of G2H. And again, Sheena with another early game invade, sort of delaying the spike from Zed, delaying that level 6, delaying the first item off of an assassin. Very, very important, even if it is by one camp. But Sheena playing it very, very clever right here. The entry or exit ward right here from Brim will spot the Zed if Thorn chooses to invade and try to take that top side of the map from Sheena.
It's going to be super, super interesting to see how Thorn will eventually react. We can see her kind of hovering in the pixel bush here a little bit, so maybe she's looking for that level 3 gank versus Zenith. Just to be a little careful though, as Zenith might be aware of what's going on with the ward place now. Thorn has to disappear into the tri-bush instead and go for a recall here.
Pretty standard, with Sheena taking pretty much every single camp there is. Triple quadrant right here, everything but the Gromp on the bot side of Thorn's jungle, which is exactly where Thorn is heading right now. Has the extra longsword in her inventory, and I feel like right here, you could actually have Trundle straight up beeline towards the Skull Crab over on the bottom of the map. They are pinging it as well. It's going to be Zed going for that Gromp and potentially looking for that Skull Crab, but you can try and force them off. If you get that push over in the mid lane, push a little bit that bot. However, Thorn is actually beelining that. She's not going for the Gromp, trying to make sure that she at least gets one of the 2 crabs.
Yeah, I like that call. Scuttle Crop ends up going down in favor of SLYA Academy. We can see their bot lane is also doing a decent job at pushing in. Across the map, it's still relatively even, as Pivotless now under a little bit of pressure here, has to use her flash pretty early on. Okay, that's a small win for Zenith there that could cash out later.
Great stuff right here from the push. Look where the lane is as well. If Zenith plays this correctly, this lane should be perma-stuck at around this wall, which makes it really difficult now for a flashless, TP-less Mundo to crash that wave. However, they do know that Sheena has cleared towards the bottom of the map, so this Trundle will be heading towards the top side to play potentially for that Scuttle Crab. Pivotless right here needs to be extremely careful. Now, the one thing about Jax versus Mundo is that Jax doesn't have any other way of popping the spell immunity shield onto Mundo, right? So it is going to be that counter-strike to take it off. So this is why Mundo pretty much has a kind of free time into Jax, because Jax cannot take a prolonged trade onto Mundo, and especially after you've got your Warmogs, you've got your double giant spells as well, you are more than set to play that split push game that we're talking about. Now, of course, Sheena's going to get seen on the top of the map, take that Scuttle Crab, and this is where Pivotless needs to be able to play a little bit more safe.
See Sheena looking for a little bit of vision here, as Lilith is now very far forward and Sheena's in a great angle to come in. Level 6 though coming through as the pillar hits. Lilith has to flash underneath the turret. She's trying to buy some time and she will end up going down, and that's the first blood for Sheena, who is very aggressive in this early game once more.
Yeah, we mentioned that in the draft, right? Trundle, fantastic champion to play into things like the Wake, extremely mobile. You walk up, you put the pillar up, you will at least take a flash. Rim, commit her flash as well. Make sure the kill goes down. TPs are going to be committed over on the mid lane, but G2H will claim the first dragon in the game, having more members in that river as Pivotless waits to receive the wave that's being crushed by Zenith.
Yeah, we can see she's definitely taking a bit of a beating there, as now Thorn is moving in and they're looking for a bit of a cross-map play to that dragon that just has been taken. Zenith loses her flash, now has to find a way through enemy jungle, manages to jump over into the pit and therefore walk away, as Lilith not quite able to catch her either. That means G2H's top laner should be fine for the time being.
Yeah, Thorn committing her W right there to try and get some harassment down onto the Jax. Kind of gave a pretty easy getaway from Zenith. She had to blow her flash, obviously, but at least she doesn't commit her life on this play, right? And now the wave is going to be pushed towards her, so Zenith can very freely sort of grab that under her attack. Scratch that, because it's time for swaps.
Yeah.
1:30 almost on the clock, which means Void Grabs are going to be on the plate for both of these teams right here. So the swaps coming through from the AD carries. Now Clef and Aussie are going to get their resets too. So Jax is just going to catch whatever remains of that bot lane crashed wave that we're seeing under bot lane tower.
Yeah, and it's about time for these shenanigans to happen again. You've mentioned it now, about a minute left until the grubbies spawn. We can look at our junglers as well, both still in their respective bot side jungles, but will be making their ways upstairs as well. As we can now see, Clef is actually moving back into that bot lane. So either they want to go for a little bit of a later swap timer, or they will just keep AOC mobile on the map, because in the end, it really just matters that you get some numbers on that top lane. And Clef, of course, should be fine with laning into Zenith here as well, because of the range advantage that she brings.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be playing for those skull crabs. They do have the advantage, and Mundo is not as strong as he should be at this point in time. So I have a feeling that G2H are going to be able to freely walk up and straight up contest those void grabs taken from themselves, or at least two, have the chance to take two of them. As Lilith walks up, Sheena is going to play it in the pillar. Again, there is no flash onto this way. They walk a little bit deeper into the jungle to take down the vision and just waiting for the void grabs. Are going to spawn right now. Numbers advantage to G2H means that the second objective is going their way too.
Very interesting, especially after yesterday, where we saw usually the team taking the advantages in early game, right? Picking up the first few neutral objectives was the one actually ending up winning the game as well. It seems like Solari are kind of back to their old ways, or is that just me?
I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily their old ways. I just feel like G2H have been putting pressure since level 1. And this is what we kind of pinpointed in the pre-show, right? That Sheena has a very aggressive playstyle, and Thorn is playing a lot of farming junglers. So if Thorn falls behind from the pressure, it's kind of hard to find that damage with Zed when you actually need like 1-2 kills to get you going, grab your first item, start being actually pretty dangerous before tankier items are starting to get built onto the side of G2H, right? So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's kind of their fault for that early game. They did fall prey to that level 1, and I feel like since then it has really hurt them.
For sure. We can see, however, their bot lane is definitely trying to put some pressure on the map here, as there's been this discussion as well about, is Yunara a stronger early game champion? Does she scale? Well, I remember that discussion being had for the entirety of the time when she came out. So far, Yunara under a little bit of pressure here from both the Rel and the Sivir. Keltis overall should still feel very comfortable knowing that once she hits those items, once she gets to land that ultimate, she should be having a very, very nice time, especially because her team will be able to play it nicely front to back.
Also a reminder right here, this is 25-20. That Rod of Ages Archangel build for Orianna is no longer. She's a very squishy mage over in the mid lane, and I feel like champions like Thorn, Zed, champions like Pivotless, Mundo over on the top side of the map will be very threatening towards the back line of G2H, right? We're talking about a very well structured front to back, if you will, from the side of G2H. That's if they're allowed to play that, because a lot of champions like Huawei, the Zed, the Mundo can cause a lot of distraction and actually scatter the backline. So I feel like if SLYA Academy find an angle, and Pivotless is one of those players that she has consistently been able to find flanks and find angles to split up team fights and find the carries in the backline.
Yeah, that's also something you've mentioned already when we were looking at the draft, how she'll be able to just walk past Colombo, right? And just go straight into that backline and hit Keltis over the head with that briefcase that she's carrying here. So that's definitely something to look out for, especially in the later stages of the game, as we can now see Solari having to look out for Sheena here, but she was luckily spotted in that tribush ward, so Solari's bot lane should be safe, as Pivotless takes another beating from Zenith here. This is the ultimate to heal herself up just a little bit before setting her sights onto the next objective, possibly, as we can see Sheena now getting caught by the Zed as Thorn steps over the wall. They definitely want to go for this fight and then pick up the Drake as well, as Thorn picks up the first kill against Sheena. Now the range is coming to play here. Rim doing a decent job at picking some kills of her own as Keltis falls on the side. Now Colombo is going back onto AOC, and I think they will be able to pick up those kills as well. And Rim seems to be the X factor with the double kill coming through. She's now going on the hunt. She wants to get a little bit more, as Lilith is now running for her life. On top side, we can see Pivotless fell as well, and this is surely turned into a little bit of a disaster here for SLYA Academy, as G2H pick up an ace in minute 12.
Damn, a delayed ace for G2H. Zenith getting the solo kill up on the top side of the map. Pivotless time with flash up. I wonder if we even have like a replay of what happened over on the top side of the map. But let's watch one more time what happened. Both Sheena oversteps, gets caught, gets jumped on by Thorn instantly, and Dodgegate does not help. And this is now a 4 versus 2. until Rim arrives, takes care of Thorn. Colombo manages to escape, and as Kaltis runs away, she does enough damage that you'll see that Rim right here capitalizes on the 2 super low HP targets, and since pivotless, we saw her use her ultimate earlier on. She couldn't heal up and got punished by Zenith.
Oof. Off to a rough start now for SLYA Academy. They are still trying to get some cryo for this dragon again, and we could see a round 2 of that fight coming in as Lilith is also moving in from mid lane. However, Clef not really with the rest of her team. It's still enough though to force Thorn back into her own jungle. 2k gold lead on the side of G2H seems to be very, very dangerous. SLYA not quite done yet. They're looking for a little bit more. Maybe they can punish Sheena again. But Lilith now having a bit of a harder time moving in because Rim pushed out that mid lane wave. And I think SLYA slowly but surely have to accept the fact that this dragon is not contested, at least not for now, as Sheena, of course, also decides to step away for a moment and go towards her own jungle camps instead.
Yeah, both the teams are kind of testing the waters, right? There's not a lot of summoners. There's actually no summoners other than the flash onto Lilith on that way. So both teams kind of testing the waters, see if anyone overextends. Zenith right here is finding Thorn. Could do some damage.
The question is who finds who, as Lilith is now moving in as well. Maybe finds a nice route here through the range. That's beautiful as the Spiraling Despair is now also coming into play. Zenith not quite going down as Rim puts down the... Oh my god, that snipe was so beautiful. We love to see it, and that's exactly the advantage that you can have with a champion like Wei.
And right now, G2H have already committed onto this. The TP is coming through from pivotless. They finished the dragon.
The dragon is definitely going down, but so is the support. RC already has left the map to go to the gray screen for a little moment as Colombo is trying to chase down Clef here. A pivotless in the area. They are dealing a decent amount of damage. Sheena's dropping down extremely low as the solar flare comes through a little bit late. Keltis though picks up the kill on the other hand, so that's no 80 carry on the side of SLYA Academy. Thorn in the area now too. They are looking to commit onto Clef here, or onto Keltis rather, as Keltis is going down. Colombo manages to walk away. But I feel like this is scrappy. It's a bit messy across the map.
Yeah, and look at top and mid for G2H. They knew that once they commit to this dragon, they have to 100% land the smite. Sheena does land the smite. They end up being punished. The TP is now coming through from Clef onto this Sivir to catch the wave and make sure that Zenith does not take that first tower run top of the map. Let's have a look again at what's happening here. So we see the death coming through off the top laner on the top of the map for G2H, but they had already committed for that dragon, which means that SLYA have to make a super up here to actually make it worth their time. They TP their Mundo down bot lane, and they kill 2 more. Fantastic pull in right here from Lilith as well onto this way. And as you can see, when they know the fight is lost, you see Rim instantly moving towards that mid lane and starting to push that one. But G2H are not done with objectives. They've also started the Rift Herald and committed to it and got it themselves.
Rift Herald, super, super important here for G2 as well. Now that they have the 3 Void Grubs and the Rift Herald in their bag, taking down these turrets is only getting easier. You can see the pressure is still relatively high. Keltis definitely feeling herself a little bit on that Yunara as well. But they are trying to overload a little bit here, SLYA Academy. Lilith coming in as well as they are stepping forward. There's a Magnet Storm, but the pillar is immediately coming through, buying some space for G2H to just walk away. And that's no more kills on this top side.
Yeah, Colombo will go on a scot-free here as Lilith had to roam all the way towards the tops of the map together with Thorn to see if they can get a pick onto that G2H bot lane. However, they're going to lose mid lane tier 1 for this. Not only does G2H not lose a member, but SLYA themselves lose a pretty big objective, if you will, right here, especially with things like the Jax and Leona being able to use those side lane, those mid lane side lane walls to actually potentially create a sneaky engage on any overextended members from the sort of SLYA. Talking about overextended members, Kaltis right here. She's testing the waters, trying to push out that wave.
Definitely a little far forward. She's fine. She's fine. She ends up being fine. I think also important to point out is the fact that they took down that mid lane to 1 turret. They still have the Herald in their bag, so whatever they decide to do will be an additional little point of pressure, right? Because we always talk about how mid lane to 1 turret is so important to open up the map. that's done. G2 has done that already, and the Herald is still there. So let's see if they want to put pressure on side lanes as well, or if they are actually looking to maybe even force down that mid lane even further. So we can see Zenith pushing out this wave, Lumble in the area to make sure she stays okay. But maybe another 1.5 minutes to breathe until the next dragon spawns here.
Now, I feel like for SLYA Academy, they're not that far behind, right? They still have a super nice scaling composition. Again, Wade champion on 3 items. He starts doing some magic. He's not called mages for no reason. I feel like he's one of the highest CS mages that you can have over in that late game. Severe and extremely great hyper carry. And now here's the trick, right? We talked about all of those champions that were banned away from pivotless, even though SLYA Academy really needed a tank. Trundle steals MR and armor.
Yeah.
Mundo builds HP. He doesn't care. Okay, he does care because there's still a bit of his primary armor and MR that he still has inherently on the champion, right? But it's not like a champion that does build a lot of those defenses for the Trundle to be able to feed off of in the early game, at least in the earlier stages when there's only a lot of belts and HP onto this Mundo. So people that still chose the champion very cleverly. Not only that, does pretty well into the lane versus the Jax, but also doesn't necessarily care too much about the likes of Trundle.
Mid lane push is coming through here for SLYA. However, with that tier 1 turret being down, they are not in the best position to commit for that dragon. Also because there is a lot of vision for the side of G2H in that enemy jungle. So they are very well aware of every step that SLYA are taking. We can see Zenith and split push taking yet another turret as Pivotless is now under pressure from both Rim and Sheena here. So be careful, using the ultimate relatively early, doesn't have the flash though, manages to walk underneath the turret just in time.
Avengers!
But now the rest of the team is here and maybe they can make something happen as Dawn wants to commit onto Rim first, but she's using the TP to escape. The fact that that worked out is kind of mind-boggling, but now the dragon is live and they can look to commit for this, but the question mark still stands. How much are they losing? That's another turret for Zenith. She's just taking down 2 turrets on top side, and Keltis gets to fire away on mid lane as well. So that's a very expensive Drake going over to SLYA Academy here.
Again, SLYA! They just commit the numbers on the map and they just can't get a pick. Aussie in trouble.
Yeah, she has to be a bit careful. Manages to walk away. Heal coming through as well to give her an additional bit of tempo. And she ends up being okay.
Damn. That's the second time I've seen SLYA Academy sort of group up as 4 or as 5, trying to take a pick, and Rim robs them in broad daylight. Presses D, TPs away onto that mid lane tower. Meanwhile, you've got Zenith taking a second tower over on the top side of the map, and now that's a 3,000 gold lead for the side of G2H. The only scary thing so far is that this 3,000 gold lead is very evenly split among many members of the side of G2H. And the only bad thing is that almost 1,000 of that gold lead is onto that Leona. Let's not get me wrong, she's pretty tanky. She's got her SLYA, she's got her boots, she's got her extra crystals, she's got her extra wards. So it's not going to waste, but you would love to have it onto somebody like the Yunara, for example.
For sure. Next turret goes down as well with the help of the Herald. Let's see if they're looking for more. She's in the taxi, but she's looking for the knockups rather than the next turret, it seems. And she's going straight through the jungle, manages to stay alive, trying to turn it around into that mid lane. I'm not sure there's enough juice in that Herald left. Nope. Ends up going down in the end, but maybe they can now punish Keltis for stepping a bit too far forward. They're all going in. Beautiful combination coming through here for the side of SLYA Academy as they pick up a nice double kill for Thorn on one of her carry champions. Rim, on the other hand, you're just screaming her name, and that's for good reasons as she solo kills Lilith there on that bot side. Now Columba has to be careful, is in a bit of danger, has to flash away, and no one wants to really hard commit another flash to follow up.
Look at top lane Zenith! Zenith has not seen her teammates for the entire game. It's been 21 minutes and she has no idea what her support looks like. That is an inhibitor tower going down. And SLYA again trying to commit numbers to make a play work, and they lose another tower. An inhibitor solo from Zenith.
That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous, but it's also very much Zenith, right? We've talked about it a lot. She is that kind of X factor for her team, either on side lanes or in team fights. The next fight might happen here, as there were some weird flashes happening in that scenario as Rim had to walk away, but that's at least the Atakan going over to SLYA Academy. TP is now coming through though. Maybe this is the first time Zenith actually gets to see someone on this map. But
I mean, she's seen a couple of enemies. She hasn't seen a lot of her teammates for now.
Fair.
But again, G2H in the momentum right here, using the resets from SLYA Academy, taking the Atakan, you got a reset. They were pretty low on HP. They take yet another tower. So even though SLYA are really trying to pounce on G2H, G2H just simply use the pushed out waves to take structure, on the map. This Jack's now about 2,000 up on the Mundo. Orianna, 1,400 gold up. Zenith takes in another tower. Can she make it out? She's out. I mean, she's out. She's out.
She's walking away.
That's it. She's out.
She does have that ultimate if she needs to, but she wants to go back in. She wants to 1v1 pivotless here a little bit. And now, oh, look, that's your team. Oh, my God. Big reunion on bot lane as Zenith finally gets to link up with the rest of her teammates, apart from her support. And they managed to pick up a kill versus pivotless, which, of course, keeps the push alive for G2H here on that bot lane.
And now they do know that they're also 3 versus 5, right? They're looking at the way over on the top side of the map who's trying to push out that wave, so they'll take potentially another tower right here, right in front of Solari.
Ooh, Zenith has to pull her flash though. Stepped a little bit too far forward, tanking a bunch of turret shots. Colombo as well in a bit of danger. But Sheena immediately tries to take everyone to safety, buying a little bit of space. Snipes coming through from Lilith though. We've talked about it. Way range can be one of the factors in the later stages here as well. But so far G2 look to be fine and they get to walk away.
I'm just loving the quick macro, the quick movements on the map from the sort of G2H. This is giving me very 2023, I want to say, G2S 2024, G2S 5, where they would just play the map super quickly, roam with the support, try to take side lanes, push the towers, give away objectives because they already have 2 of the dragons, just to take more structures off of the map. And the more structures you have off the map, the more fog of war starts falling for your opponents, right? And I feel like G2H have been using this very nicely to try and push out the waves, setting down their vision, not allowing SLYA to walk inside their own jungle. So SLYA Academy have to be extremely cautious when they try to walk out for the next objectives to come. Talk about 5 seconds, the next dragon will be sole point for G2H.
SLYA definitely need to find a way to go in and contest this. You don't want to give over many more Drakes. It's only sole point. That's the good news. There's still a lot of pressure on SLYA Academy, and G2H again trying to push out that mid wave, trying to build the pressure up, finding a pillar that hits onto Clef. Not really any follow-up to punish her for standing a bit too far forward there. You can see Pivotless still in the base, TPing in right now, and they want to make it a 5v5 moment. As Aussie has already dropped a whole lot of health, and I don't see an easy way for SLYA to walk into that Drake pit. So Dragon is gone. That's the sole point going over to G2H. The question is, will they immediately move towards the Baron now, as it is spawning in this very moment? Very nice pillar coming through from Sheena as well on the side. Zenith takes a bit of damage as Aussie is going in with that Magnet Storm, and maybe they can find something, but that's immediate follow-up with the Shockwave, and G2H are doing a decent amount of damage. Keltis untouched on the side. However, the rest of the team here for SLYA Academy is doing so much work. That's a shutdown for Clef, and again Pivotless off to the side, putting in the work that it needs, as Clef is now being sniped a little bit, but she manages to walk away just in time. And SLYA are showing teeth. They are showing the fighting spirit that we know them for.
Yeah, actually really nice engage right there. Sees Rim onto that Orianna, no flash, overextending, trying to get some poke down next to that pillar. We'll see it one more time. Look at Rim. She's trying to get towards that Sivir. Aussie, she sees that. She's instantly engaging. Thorn dives into the backline. Orianna gone. And look at Kaltis. She tries to move forward. But who did we say is the best at splitting apart the fights and not letting you play front to back? It is Pivotless. Takes Kaltis away from the fight, which means that G2H, this is actually the first fight they actually straight up lose in an even case scenario.
And that speaks a lot for the scaling that SLYA still have in the backs. It's been a rough 26 minutes for them. Have been outplayed at so many occasions on this map, but maybe, just maybe, there is still a way for them to fight back. The base, of course, open, at least on top side, but Mortal Reminder now also ready for Clef as they're looking to maybe try and deny this Baron. G2H not really sure about if they want to go for the Baron or turn for the fight. Instead, they decide for the fight, and that's a very dead support on the side of SLYA Academy, who are now at a numbers disadvantage. Zenith doing a decent job at zoning Thorn away, who's also standing on the ward as Clef drops extremely low on the side. Spiraling Despair will hit onto Rim, and it's again Pivotless stepping forward, having to be that wall in order to keep the carries alive. That's a double kill coming over for Lilith. Lilith performing on that way. It's one of her favorite champions, one of the most contested picks of Game Changers so far, and here we can see why, because that late game scaling is insane. That's a shutdown for Pivotless, and now SLYA Solari are unleashed. The gold lead has been mitigated to only 1K, and that's 14 kills each. This game is far from over.
Oh, this game just blew wide open. One team fight for SLYA Academy. Suddenly 2 items onto this Mundo, almost 3 items on Wei, 3 items on Sivir. And you can see the front to back, the scaling, the pure structure coming through from the sort of SLYA. This was a fantastic opening from G2H. Zenith is zoning Thorn away, forces the flash as well over the Raptor pit. And then on the other side, G2H take down the SLYA, and they just woke up because you can't just start Baron and expect Wei to poke you, right? Now that Thorn dies, you think, hey, this could look really good, but they just can't get past the Mundo. And then the second you lose Kaltis, the second you lose your 2 ranged carries, you see that G2H completely run out of damage because you can never reach Sivir and you can never reach the Wei.
That's just crazy how Zenith walks up and immediately pops there as soon as she faces Lilith. And we can see that powerhouse on the mid lane coming through. 6 kills now for her. Very good score lines. And that gold lead is basically gone for G2H. These 500 gold don't really matter in minute 28 at all, as they are starting that Baron again. Thorn on vision, so they should be very well aware that she is there. Columble already looking for a way to zone her away, going over the walls, putting down that solar flare, and that is not going down super fast. They are still able to go in and maybe punish it, as Zenith is now up to the side once more. They are looking to punish Zenith here for stepping a bit too far forward. She immediately hits onto the carry, just how you predicted it, and that's a very dead Keltis on the side of G2H. So yes, they do get the Baron, but at what cost? They will lose at least 2 members, and that of course puts them in not the most ideal position to play out this Baron in the end.
All right, I'll give you the positive, I'll give you the negative. The positive right here for G2 is that there's no waves for the sort of SLYA push out. The negative right here is that they needed to make that play work, but it didn't. They lost 2 in the process, so now they need to wait until they make their C's work right here. G2H in a very, very peculiar situation. They're gonna lose the top lane, tier 2. One of their last outer defenses. Actually, I'm talking gonna scrap right here. They do have still 3 towers. I'm blind. Excuse me.
It's fine,
but
though.
This is supposed to be a Baron push, right?
Yeah.
And since 2 members of G2H were down, SLYA Academy took the only closest wave that they had to push that one out. Now G2H absolutely need that soul right here. But if you overextend, if you overfight this, if you lose that fight, you could end up losing the game. TPs are being pulled in. Pivotless is coming in.
Oh, but that dragon is melting super, super fast. They have to find a way in right now. As Thorn needs to go in. Maybe they can do it. The Magnus Storm is coming through as well as the Solar Flare, but that's the Infernal Soul going over to the side of G2H, who are now looking to play this fight. Zenith immediately going into the backline. She has that double kill. Spiraling Despair won't kill her off. Pivotless now extremely low as well, and that's a triple kill for Zenith. And it's again the X Factor on top lane for the side of G2H, who ends up not only winning them the fight, but keeping that Baron push alive for a little longer. And now Lilith has to make a miracle happen in order to keep G2H from not only taking away her base, but also taking away this game. As Lilith drops, that's another ace coming through for G2H. They do have the 3 Void Grabs. They still have a Baron buff for another minute. And the timers on the side of SLYA Academy are too high. They were so close to coming back. But in the end, G2H dominated the early game, and they will take home the late game as well. In what a fashion.
Okay, G2H, not even close. No one was sweating that game, I can promise. A 6,000 gold lead pushed down 0 to then clutch it out on a Baron attempt straight into a Dragon attempt. And oh my word, I mean, we're gonna break this down, but I have to say huge props to Kaltis. She had a phenomenal last fight right there, literally bypassing everyone and dashing and flashing straight into the backline to punish the Wei, to zone him out, to take out enemy AD carry. Fantastic performance by the G2H AD carry.
But honestly, that little comeback arc that SLYA had coming, I think it was there, and it was very, very real, right? And I think it showed that they knew when their comp was going to work out. However, that last team fight just didn't really work out in their favor. We're going to unpack it after a quick break, and then of course we will move on to another few crazy games, because I have a feeling this was only just the beginning of everything we're going to see tonight. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back after a break.
Let's just ride out. Let's just ride out. I want to ride with you, get lost in time with you. I'll be good to you. Oh yeah, let's just ride out.
We are back, and we were this close to the version of Solari maybe getting the first game, but in the end, G2 just did what they started in this game, completely dominating. And I have to say, I was a bit worried for Solari in the early game, but then it luckily turned around for G2. Mile, how was it to cast such an interesting game as a playcaster?
I just put it on Twitter under the announcement of the score. I was like, this one had me sweating. I was really hyped about it. Honestly, I had a really good time with it. I saw that comeback arc, and that got me hyped even harder. But then that last fight happened. I don't even know where to start. It was just such a banger game to watch and to cast as well, of course.
Yeah, then I would say let's just start at the beginning with some replays that we have from this wonderful game, because there were plenty trouble.
Oh no!
Oh, we have
My
a
girl.
I have
Muted ink.
to. Okay, so let's take it from the beginning, right? Because I feel like G2H did a phenomenal job at macroing the heck out of SLYA Academy. Particularly this delayed ace. I feel like Zenith over on the tops of the map was doing a fantastic job zoning out pivotless for the early game. She was actually doing a fantastic job zoning out Thorn from a lot of those objectives, like the one we're seeing literally right. And this was the comeback from the side of Solari. Pivotless coming on.
Yeah, it was the comeback that unfortunately wasn't supposed to be. But I really love how we can see also the strength of the mid laners and also the ADCs in this team fight. I mean, here G2 had the little hope of, okay, good, maybe we can go on. We have still the 6,000 gold lead. But after this team fight, the 6,000 gold were done. And Solari thought that they could maybe contest this dragon.
Yeah, they were looking for it as well, but it was really, really hard for them to get into it because they were at a numbers disadvantage to begin with. The rest of the team only now manages to come in, and we've highlighted Zenith a lot in this play, but also please look at how Keltis was playing this. The way she stayed alive in that fight is a miracle, and she made it work. Overall, it did look like a close game in the end, but I think G2H just set themselves up for success in the early minutes and made it work throughout the game in their favor.
Yeah, tanks, by the way. Most damage in the game, that Mundo over on the top side of the map. And I feel like Pivotless was very close, so close to showing us how incredibly freaking broken this champion is on 3 items plus. She had a lot of fantastic fights, right? Where she bypassed completely the front line of G2H and she just got onto Rims, she got onto Cultist. But I feel like right there, G2H had firm control of that banana bush, and Zenith together with Cultist took strong control of that fight, not allowing Lilith to extend onto this way and create havoc that she's been doing in a lot of those fights.
Yeah, and love tanks. Tanks are just great. And you have to consider there were even 4 bans against Pivotless in this scenario, and she still managed to nearly turn the game around in her favor with that Mundo. So I'm really hoping to see more Pivotless action coming out in the next draft, which should happen very, very soonish. What do you think? Is Solari now crushed that they lost the game? Or are they gonna go in maybe with a bit more confidence and setting themselves better up for the next early game?
Nah, they are not crushed. This is just what they do. They either take 1 game, maybe 2 games, then they're online, and then it's over for the enemy, right? That's what we've seen from them in the past 2 best-offs that they have played. That's kind of what Pivotless told us yesterday. She was like, look, I gave my team a hug before the games this time around, so we only needed 1 game to arrive on the map. You know, it's cool. And I have absolutely no reason to be worried about Solari right now, because it's either Pivotless handing out hugs in this very moment, or she has already hugged the team, and we know that's the saving grace. That's what's going to take them over the finishing line. I do want to say, though, I'm very interested to see if they want to adapt on draft, because we saw them with a little bit more of a late game focused draft again this time around. When we look at the carries, at least, if we look towards Wave, if we look towards Sivir, and I would like to see if they want to adjust that towards early game a little bit more again, because I feel like the bridging was not really working out in their favor here.
Yeah, and it could be kind of repeating the same story as yesterday, because as you already said, they lost the first one, and then they just completely came back to the series. They presented us the Ashe, afterwards the Kalista, the Tristana, going with a very different approach to the games. But still, we're gonna see SLYA Academy chose to stay on the red side, so there must be a bigger picture and a bigger plan that we just haven't seen yet. And also G2H just continues by banning top lane buns. Poor Pivotless.
Okay, Syndra and Zoe are the picture as well. Syndra ban right here from G2H, and I'm wondering what they're thinking of B1 right here, because she's been quite aggro, but she doesn't necessarily care too much about the super meta champions like the Jarvan and like the Wukong. And I wonder if this time around they pivot into more giving Sheena a more early game oriented kind of jungler that can still do the same damage towards Thorn that she has before. I'm even thinking about things like the Nocturne that can also be a counter towards the Fury that Thorn really likes to play. So we'll see if G2H want to pivot towards more of a jungle B1 for game number 2.
Both of them definitely like to play that Nafiri, by the way. So I think it could be a little bit of a first pick too, if you want to look for it, because I think Sheena would feel comfortable on that if it was up to her. But with the Nocturne still being open, I'm not sure that's much of a choice here. They end up locking in Sion first pick, and Sion has been one of the most broken champions we've seen in a long time, at least in this current stage. That, of course, means there's another pivotless pick taken away. And I saw Annika's reaction to that Smolder ban. I wasn't sure if it's a happy or a sad reaction, judging from how you hate on that champion every time Clef plays it. I would guess you're very happy about this. Yeah. And this is something I personally am very happy about, because that Rek'Sai yesterday gave me so much fun. Like, I enjoyed that pick. Pivotless looked so good on it. I'm happy to see it again.
Again, it's something that Flandre is very proficient in playing from the side of AL at Worlds. Primarily, you want to pick Rek'Sai into tanks. That's HP damage onto those tanks, and you want to get ahead early in laning phase onto this Rek'Sai. So I'm looking at Pivotless right here, and I'm looking at her sort of like stopping Zenith into getting and becoming that monster that Sion can be, because in my opinion, Sion is one of the most broken champions in the current meta, and he has been almost permanently banned. The Azir coming through, I wanted to say, I don't think there's a lot of mages that can take out things like Sion, the Cassiopeia being one of them. And Azir took a couple of hits in the previous patch, so I'm not sure at what stage he's looking at right now.
I mean, I love Lilith in this pick. She has been like really proficient on it also the last few years, because she has been in the scene for such a long time. So I like the Emperor of the Sands coming out for her, just like opting again more in like this playmaking potential, finding a good phalanx, maybe being able to bring Keltis, or like even room with the SLYA closer to the team fight. So I really like the adaptation that Solari here made, bring out a champion we haven't seen in a long time.
Ooh. Interesting hovers coming through for sure. We're a little bit confused about that. I just quickly want to mention...
Confused or concerned? That's the other question.
Yeah, both. Both, actually. Now we're not concerned anymore, because this is very much something we can expect, right? It's a pick that Keltis has played a little bit. It's also something that we know Clef to play. They are both very nice when it comes to playing hyper carries. They really enjoy those ones. They definitely have the carry potential to take over team fights, which is something I'm looking for with Zeri as well. The question for me is, do you want to pick an AD carry in your first rotation here as well, or do you actually want to opt towards the jungle? The answer is right there, right now. We're picking up the Pantheon for Thorn. Definitely one of the picks that she has played a lot of before, but that, of course, leaves Clef as a little bit of a target here for the second ban rotation.
Now, with the Pantheon moving on to 25-20, he has also received a big hit on his clear speed. The champion was always usually second when it came to objectives. He was never the fastest, but he was very strong initially. So now they toned down a little bit more his clear speed. He's still a very, very good duelist, right? When he actually gets ahead as well. However, right here, I don't see a lot of setup. So I'm looking at Thorn and I'm seeing there isn't actually many ways she can play around. Potentially, you can play around Rek'Sai, Pivotless, get the Sion under tower, or you can look to set up with your bot lane since you have that R5, get that R5 counter pick onto your support, and potentially get a Pantheon to play towards the bot side of the map.
Yeah, and also now coming out more bans against the bot lane. Meanwhile, Solari is doing their best in order to try to slim down the champion pool for Sheena in the jungle. I really loved her in the last game, just showing way more like agency with the Trundle. So it also gave her like a lot of opportunities to invade and just make the life of the Zed a lot harder. Now that all the picks are out, and it's really hard to find a quidded answer against like this Pantheon, because as you already mentioned, Trouble, you have like a lot of abilities to like try to gain top lane, get Rek'Sai ahead, Similarish, to where we have seen it yesterday.
I mean, I also like that Solari picked away the Pantheon, so the Taliyah Pantheon combination is not happening, because that has been historically strong in the past times. Oh, this, I mean, this would be
That
hilarious, by
doesn't
the
look
way.
right. Like,
Is it picking?
It should,
yeah.
love
it should
this.
be up
No.
there, but it's not really up there because then it goes down
It's
the
not.
way.
Is it somehow like picking away the other team's picks with Zenith
Yeah.
picking the Cyan, and now SLYA is like revenge. We gotta pick away the Vayne, then also Talia being picked away from Lilith.
I don't know, man. It's like picking Sion against Baus. It's kind of like it's kind of like a blasphemy at some point.
Yeah,
you know?
like, why would
after
you?
Zenith gets a quadra kill on the champion through top lane, Clef picks it away. However, I was thinking maybe you can pivot towards something maybe even like an Aphelios, like you need a tank killing AD carry. Vayne, historically one of the best tank killing AD you can get. However, she does suffer a lot in lane, but because you have that R5 onto the support, also you could potentially get that counter pick to free a little bit of the pressure that Vayne feels in the early game.
Very interested to see how that one's going to play out. We'll get this very little combination, something we have seen a lot in the past. Definitely works out very well in the lane as well as in the later stages. Lulu, of course, bringing in some resilience for the team when it comes to fighting. And now the question mark stands, what do they want to give AOC here in this specific matchup? I do feel like there could be some hard engage here somewhere, maybe, possibly. I'm just not sure if that's going to pair nicely when it comes to playing into the Enchanters. And we do get the Soraka again, a pick that AOC has been shining with in the past few games. So she will definitely be comfortable, and that, of course, gives that reassurance to her team. So if someone would be in danger, that ultimate will come in clutch.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, third time's the charm, right? So far, she has 2 wins under her belt. Why not the third one against G2H? And I really like the Soraka here too, because, of course, if there's backline access coming out, if like the Cyan beaches into her, if there's like the Xin Zhao jumping onto her. But on the other hand, you don't really have any other real engage to try to threaten the Soraka otherwise early on. Trouble, you have been like the big preacher for the Soraka during the whole last week. How excited are you for her today?
I mean, not necessarily excited to see the pick. I'm just excited the fact that they have realized that Soraka is just so strong versus Enchanters, right? And particularly versus Lulu. Again, Vayne tends to struggle a lot in lanes. He's very short range. Doesn't necessarily take trades very easily whilst also pushing the wave. So she kind of like struggles maintaining the push whilst also being able to trade, right? But Soraka sort of meant that because her silence in lane into that Lulu that usually likes to use E and W to take really aggressive trades, and also the heals that can mend up a lot of the damage that's being dealt by the Zeri could actually balance that lane very, very nicely. I feel like 2 out of 3 of the lanes right here are winning for Solari, which makes me excited because it means that Thorn has 2 lanes that she can actually play through on that Pantheon.
And she will have to play for her life at least a little bit, because this might not be the backs against the walls game yet, but it could put G2H at match point if they are able to win this one. And again, this is about the last remaining finals ticket. Who is coming to Paris with us to then play against Eterna in our grand finals of the Game Changers Rising for the first time ever? And SLYA Academy definitely still want to have a little bit of a say in that question. And maybe this draft puts them up for success. As we can see, no crazy early shenanigans thus far. Everyone's just kind of tracking the river and making sure there are no sneaky invades happening.
But look on the map, I'm seeing Cultists moving over towards the top side of the map. They're going to take Sion over on the bot side. And I think this is a very, very good swap coming out of G2H. Very, very clever. You can definitely play that Zeri into the Rexa. You've got the barrier right there as well if you take a very rough trade, and somehow Pivotal finds her way onto Cultists, which should not happen, at least in the early game. And then Sion is a champion that doesn't necessarily care about falling behind. However, into the Rexa, you do really struggle. And we did mention how Soraka Vayne might make your life a little bit of a misery down bot lane. So if you're going to make their life a misery, you might as well make Sion misery. As Sheena, she pulls out another late invade, level 1. What do you know? Death tactics and her doing it.
Yep. Thorn loses her flash pretty early on here as Pivotless is trying to maybe come in. Maybe they try to save this one as Keltis is now in the area as well, doing a good job at zoning Thorn away, at least for the moment. Sheena then sets her sights towards the chicken nuggets instead. Will not be able to pick up the buff, but I think she's still very much okay with picking up a few of the chickens here, and then maybe moving straight back into that Baron buff pit, rather. Pivotless is now in lane.
that's kind of like me in a department store. I'm like, oh, I want this top. Oh, but what about those trousers? Oh, but the skirt is really nice, but have you seen the shoes? She was like this. She was just a kid in a toy store, kind of wanted them all, but she was owned away by Pivotless on the top side. Thor was still sticking around. Again, a great level 1 from G2H, the late level 1 in to force Thorn over on the bot side of the map and also take her flash away early on onto this Pantheon. And a quick reminder, Pantheon's clear speed has been hit. Still a good duelist, but doesn't clear jungle as fast as he used to. And he was never a super fast clear in the first place. So Shinzao very, very happy with those early game shenanigans.
So funny to think about those changes, because initially what Riot wanted was to put that Pantheon more towards topside again. They wanted to take away that jungle focus a little bit, but we can safely say that didn't work out so well, as we're of course still seeing it a lot in the jungle. We can now see Thorn moving down bot side a little bit, maybe trying to put some pressure onto that G2H top laner here, but Colombo with a nice reaction. We know her to be very roam heavy as a support, and she's coming in to make sure that Zenith gets to stay safe on her Sion underneath that turret. Sheena in the area as well, so no real danger for the top laner of G2H here.
And I love how quickly Colombo again like walked on the map. She walked topside, laid down a ward on the topside entry of Sheena's jungle. Then she walked around that tri-bush, put a ward, not into the tri-bush, but sort of around to make sure that you don't have any Pantheon shenanigans happening. And that's Sheena with another triple quadrant clear in her jungle. They've done this now back to, and I'm wondering, like, at this point, I feel like for Solari, they're like, oh, we're happy. We got the Rek'Sai into the Sion that's winning. We got the Vayne, Soraka into the Zeri plus Lulu. That could also win as well, depending on the matchups. Depending on the trades. But the late game level 1s that no one is covering from the side of Solari Academy really need to be studied.
Yeah, 100%. That's also something that I immediately took down as a note for later on, because I think that is something we need to talk about. Especially if it turns out to be some of the things that Solari don't actually find an answer to. For the moment, Thorn has fallen a little bit behind, but overall, she should still be very much okay to recover from that. We can see Colombo again glued to her jungler. She's just there in jungle with Sheena. And you know, I get it. Sheena is a cool person. I would like hanging out with her too. But maybe now Lilith in a little bit of danger on this mid lane. Here's AOC's trying to match the roaming power that is coming through from G2 and make sure her mid laner stays alive.
Yeah, I feel like she's sort of playing in between Pantheon Vayne and the Azir right here. She's on her reset as well. She's going back to base for her first reset, so she's making sure she's topping up her mid laner before she moves back into a lane or into a reset. The reset coming through actually from Colombo on the top side of the map together with Sheena. And look how beautifully the resets just match on the side of G2. 1, 2, 3, 4 instant resets onto the map. I'm expecting Sion to move back towards the top side of the map this time around. And we're actually going to be having our 2 versus 2. The Sion is walking up top side with that extra armor into the Rek'Sai. And we've got your call already on this area. So again, resets from G2H and macro is very on point in this early game.
And that's what we know them for, right? We know them to be very macro strong, individually, very, very talented players as well. And they have had an easy time showing it this year. And in many instances, they've looked unstoppable until they had to face Eterna. Kind of became their kryptonite here.
Who kind of make them stoppable.
Yep. Suddenly the monster truck is not rolling anymore. Suddenly the monster truck is stuck in the mud or something. But they are getting some help here. Some starting wires or whatever you call it. And game 1 has looked very, very good from G2H again. First Dragon, though, in this game going over to Solari Academy. G2, though, don't really seem to be necessarily interested in that anyways. So I would expect them to maybe look towards those topside objectives instead.
Yeah, I feel like potentially they could be playing for the Void Grubs right here, specifically since Caltis is going to crash that wave under tower. She gets the reset first. Colombo has already reset as well. She's on her way towards the top side of the map. So I'm expecting another swap to come through right here for G2H. Try to play for those Void Grubs early on. They did lose the first dragon, so that would be kind of like a consolation prize. to get a couple of those void grabs too, to be specific, to grab the +1 on the feats of strength or neutral objectives. That's very nice cancel out there from Pivotless on the Cyan reset.
You see a little bit of action happening in that jungle right there as a Rim is looking for both Thorn and AOC, but they end up being okay. Pivotless again trying to find a little bit of a cancel there. As Colombo has been spotted on top side. There's only 30 seconds left on these void grubs. Thorn, however, still in her bot side jungle. AOC now kind of looking for a little bit of vision there. And that gives me the feeling that G2H are the only ones really willing to commit for those void grubs on top side.
I feel like they are the only ones who are willing to commit for that. That's a massive jungle gap right here. Level 6 onto the Shinzao. Thorn still needs a camp to ding over to that level 6. Potentially could also even look to dive the Cyan together with the Vayne and the Soraka, since she knows that G2H are probably going to be occupied over on the top side of the map. And by her movements, I'm looking at her getting into this river, potentially getting the Scuttle Crab, and maybe even looking for a dive over on the bot side as Sheena is going to steal yet another camp away from Thorn.
Oh my god, Pivotless is in a lot of danger with both Rim, Sheena here as well. She has to be really, really safe underneath that turret. Of course, has the chance to dodge a few things with the tunneling. And then that puts G2H in a perfect position to commit for these void grabs, uncontested with the prio on that top lane especially. There is absolutely no danger for them taking over these 3 grubbies. And that, of course, puts them in a better position, not only when it comes to the feats of strength, but also when we look at how they want to play on side lanes, possibly later on. Thorn now looking for a bit of an invade of her own here. That's new. We haven't really seen her punishing Sheena's jungle. But of course, with the
level
knowledge
3
of her...
Lulu walking up a level 6 Pantheon. I don't know if you want that if you're Colombo. I'm seeing very few squares, if you will, on her HP bar, and she can go down even faster. The level 7 Vayne around, and that's the price you're willing to pay, right? Colombo very, very active on the map, resetting super quickly. She also wasted a lot of her time, not really wasted, but invested a lot of her time trying to keep Thorn out of the jungle early on, and now she's looking for a dive down bot lane. Pantheon ult coming in.
Sheena's in the area as well, though. Let's see if this works out in their favor, as she's not getting polymorph, but Thorn should be able to pick up that first blood. Looks very, very nice. And now Zenith still there. Rim's TP also pulled. I think overall this is very nice so far for SLYA Academy, who managed to block Rim away, who had to use the ultimate and try to buy some space, or rather overcome some space. But this was fine for SLYA, if you ask me.
That was more than great. I feel like Grim should have never used her TP to go down bot lane. The play was already over. That's a level 3 Lulu. 10 minutes in. Level 3. Colombo has sacrificed her entire game to make sure that Thorn doesn't come back into it. And she does. Because that Lulu stopped Thorn from getting into the jungle, grabbing any CS. And Thorn gets her revenge by grabbing 300 gold on that Lulu right here. So more than a camp's gold worth, if you will, taking down the Yordle. Still level 3. She literally just needs 1 creep. Please, Colombo, just stick around for 1 creep. 1 creep.
Oh, she's making her way up the river.
She's running as fast as she can, man. Short legs.
She has short legs, yes. But look, here she is.
Oh, there we go.
Level up. Level 4.
Level 4.
Oh, thank God.
To level
Thank
8
God.
on her 8 carry.
That's a bit rough, but maybe it pays off later on. They do have the 3 void grabs, so they will be able to pick up at least 1 plating. Here we can see Keltis, of course, also immediately moving to pick up the wave between turrets, which of course denies a little bit more from Pivotless here, who is not necessarily happy about that, as now the second plating also looks heavily damaged. They're looking to pick up at least 1 more plating before moving away. That wave is still stacked, though. Sheena in the area, too. Pivotless and AOC don't really get an easy access towards their own turret. Keltis can just zone them by auto-attacking every now and then. That's fine. Not much to see here, as Pivotless now looking to maybe find Colombo. Has to be a little bit careful. Laser coming through from Keltis, though, zoning Pivotless away. But now there is no immediate wave. Next one coming in right now. Colombo has taken a bit of damage. And I fear G2 could get a little cocky with this.
That's the level 5 Lulu into a level 9 Rek'Sai. And there's a Soraka around. If Pivotless finds an angle, she could potentially 100-0 that Lulu. There's no heal on the Yordle. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, second Dragon secured. for the side of SLYA Academy, and so far so good, especially when you want to be scaling into this late game. You've got Vayne, you've got Soraka, you've got Azir, you've got Rek'Sai, like, you're set up. The only champion that needs to get fed in the early game is Thorn on this Pantheon, and yes, she got deprived of her early XP in her jungle and gold, but she managed to sort of turn this around by grabbing the 2 dragons, getting that kill onto Lulu. So SLYA Academy are feeling pretty confident going into that mid to late game from the time. Also, if they want to drop a couple of dragons, just to make sure that they have the right items to fight later on, they can do that. They've earned themselves plus 10 minutes.
Yeah, I completely agree. We saw Pivotless there taking a little bit of a plating of her own as well now. Trying to even out that lane state on top lane, because we can see that top lane tier 1 turret for the side of SLYA is a little lower when it comes to health. Across the map, you can see the first items coming through as well. Thunder Sky now also ready for Sheena. Maybe that can be a little bit of a difference maker, as Keltis looking for Pivotless again. I was seeing the area to Colombo, now level 6. Very important for her to finally be able to actually play this.
Not the Lulu!
By using the ultimate straight away on herself. Thorn coming in with the ultimate as well, and now they can find a nice stun onto Keltis here. The damage is coming through, and it's not going to be enough to block it off. Now Colombo has to flash out. Very, very carefully needs to manage to stay alive, as Lilith has to pull her ultimate to manage to walk away. Weaver's Wall coming through though. Rim is on the hunt. Lilith has to use flash too. Manages to stay alive, but there's a lot invested here for the mid laner of SLYA Academy, as now the rest of the team is maybe looking for a bit of a punish. The plant is not on the side of Aussie here, has to use her flash to step away, because Thorn didn't want to take her with her. And now they are back in that enemy jungle. G2H looking to punish Thorn again.
That was a very nice bait right there from Pivotless, pretending to actually speedrun the Lulu and turning around because Pantheon's coming in. So once Colombo has used her ult on herself to zone away the Rek'Sai, they just straight up run Cultist down. No flash, no barrier now for the fights to come. And this is going to definitely hurt G2H. 2.5 minutes on the clock. SLYA Academy definitely want to start stacking their dragons even more. And knowing that this Seri has no summoners, no flash onto a very squishy Lulu as well, I feel like the bottom of G2H is a huge target on themselves.
I gotta agree. We can see them definitely making some use of these 3 Void Grubs, which I think still plays in their favor. We can see Rim also did a decent amount of work on that mid lane turret. So that's at least the first turret going over to G2H. Evening out that small gold lead that SLYA had a second ago. Gold now dead even. That, of course, puts G2 maybe in a bit of a more comfortable position.
Here it comes. Aaron, Colombo about 50% of her HP. Level 6 Lulu into what could be a level 11 Azir. That's 5 levels up. And the Rek'Sai. So SLYA Academy, they're just bunching up, they're healing up. I don't think they can walk into this. It's not been set up for. They're just gonna push out their lanes. They have Rek'Sai pushing top, they have Vayne pushing bots on the map. So just allow your carries to keep shoving out the waves, crushing them under tower. 1,000 gold up for Pivotless, which is the whole point. Rek'Sai into the side, even though she hasn't necessarily really laid much into the side. She has managed to accumulate a pretty good lead for herself.
I think it's also a little similar to what we saw SLYA do last game, right? They realized in the early game, okay, we might not be able to hardly play these team fights or like really enforce these team fights. So they were waiting for their spikes to come through, and we saw that comeback angle. It was there, and I would expect G2H to do a similar thing. They are usually very aware of their limits. They are very aware of their item spikes. They might be the macro strongest team that we have in the tournament.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that shows in decisions like this, right? Knowing when to commit where. And now they have a bit of a gold lead of their own, even though it's tiny little gold lead. Might be just disappearing now as Pivotless picks up this turret, but it was there for a second. I think G2 can still feel relatively comfortable as the next turret is now pick up for SLYA as well. They've managed to push down both of the side lanes. A good answer here from G2H, taking down that mid lane tier 1 turret and therefore opening up the map for themselves a bit more.
And I'm wondering where they're gonna set down the Rift Trap, potentially towards that bot side of the map, try and open up that side too, especially since Dragon just got live. They take down, oh, the flank TP coming through from Pivotless. She's right behind G2H.
Let's see if they can make it work. Lulu ult already used here on the side of G2H as the turret ends up going down. Pivotless is now straight going into the backline as Keltis has to use her ultimate. She's going down. She's stepping further forward, but Pivotless is taking a lot of damage now. That Crescent Guard bought so much time here for G2H, but SLYA Academy are not done yet. They are going to secure the Feet of Warfare. Beautiful ultimate coming through from Lilith, but here comes the Sion. Choo-choo train has arrived. Staying to the backline as Thorn has to be a bit careful. Aussie dropping a lot of health here as well as Sheena is now committing towards that front line. Hit onto Lilith. Lilith ends up going down. The ultimate going just wide from Thorn here. She's trying to maybe put them in a little bit of a sticky position as the teamfight is now split up with Sheena zoning Thorn away. Clef picks up another kill. She's trying to get unleashed here, but it's a double kill coming through in the end before Zenith picks her up, puts her into the gray screen, and now G2H are on the hunt. Maybe looking to pick up Aussie and Thorn as well, but I think they are fine just committing for that dragon because Keltis has respawned.
Damn, this fight went on for so long. Both the first two people who died have already respawned, and Sheena is looking for more. Oh, the W doesn't hit on the Soraka.
They definitely won it. Soraka ends up going down in the end. Now Thorn, the last one standing, but here comes the TPs. I fear G2H may have overforced it a little bit as Sheena is now caught behind enemy lines. Zenith goes down and she gets the double kill. Maybe that's still enough. Now with Keltis in the area, they're looking to commit for even more, but Pivotless is still a tanky little Rek'Sai. TP coming through, might be a little deep here for Rim, who is immediately facing Pivotless, ends up dropping so much health and ends up almost going down again as Lilith comes to the fight, drops again, straight back to the gray screen. What in the hell is happening? This is insane. Who gets the Drake?
So let me get this straight. We've had time for our first victims initially like 5 minutes ago to respawn, come through, fight again, die again, and now finally we've calmed down. And this was the initial fight. People does the fantastic flank straight into 4 members. That Hydra is doing so much work in the team fight, but she gets isolated. SLYA Academy don't push instantly with the Rek'Sai. A really nice shove from Lilith to get Cultist, but the choo-choo train coming through from Zenith all the way from topside river, zoning away. You can see that Vayne doesn't necessarily have the items yet to deal with the Sion. Zenith soaks up so much damage. However, in my opinion, Cultist dying is a big hit for G2H. They do lose a lot of that consistent damage. This is why you see this fight being so drawn out, especially without she surviving and the heals coming through on Soraka.
Crazy team fight action. Honestly, if this is minute 18, what is to come in this game? I'm a little worried, but yeah, definitely scrappy from both sides. So I feel like that was anything but clean, which also results in no one really being able to pick up that dragon initially. However, we can see now SLYA Academy are on it. They want to pick up that early soul point by themselves even more time, considering the scaling factor on the side of G2H's comp. And they are looking to do so uncontested. Atakan now also spawned on top of the map, but I don't think G2 can easily commit for that now. The handshake won't happen, and we might get a second to breathe.
I mean, SLYA Academy right here, they've gone away with murder. 3 dragons, not a single one contested, especially after a fight which increases the gold lead for G2H. You'd expect that when second item comes through, they would want to look to potentially even fight this or contest this, but there was no setup. Look at all the works happening around that dragon pit, right? For the side of SLYA Academy. So it's not being there for them. Gonna give them away the 3rd dragon. However, G2H are in a timer right now, 4 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. They're gonna have to fight for the next one. Sheena is contemplating her future right there. Does she want a W and dash into this red buff? Is it worth it giving her life for a red buff? The answer is obviously always no, especially with the Atakan up for grabs and Clef.
Oh, Clef!
Might get caught.
She's in a bit of danger here as the Weaver's Wall is now coming through as well. Clef is down. That's another kill for Keltis, and now they have the numbers advantage and the carry on the side. SLYA Academy's down. That's a double kill for the Zeri, and that, of course, now puts them in the perfect position. You said it, to start the Atakan.
Absolutely beautiful right there. That ramp, I have spoken about this for so much. We have a phrase in Greece that says, I speak about something so much that my tongue gets free. Which means that by the repetition, it just gives you like a sour taste in your mouth, like a hairy taste in your mouth by just repeating what you're saying. And I feel like I'm gonna say my tongue has gotten hairy with how many times I've said if a carry walks that ramp with not enough vision and you get caught there, you're most likely dead. And that's what happened to Clef. You saw Pivotless sort of coming to her aid, trying to help right there. Gets caught as well. G2H with 2 very important picks. Grabbing that attack. The extra damage, the extra levels. 4 kills on Cyan. All the lead from the Rek'Sai is gone and 2 items completed. Zenith is truly very, very tanky.
And it's so interesting as we get a look at this replay again. Clef does not have any vision.
Yeah. The only vision she had was the one she was walking on, right?
Yep.
And fantastic positioning right there from Sheena. She was always looking, she was contemplating again, and we're talking about the red buff, but had a very nice position on the transition from top to mid. Clef took the bait right there, got caught. Good stuff right there from G2H to find that pick for themselves. Extend their lead. That is 4 kills onto Cultist right now in this area. 1.3k gold lead over the Vayne. And slowly but surely, this gold lead is starting to accumulate about 3.5k for G2H. And they're definitely more than equipped this time around in 2 minutes' time to potentially fight and contest for the next dragon, which is going to be Seoul if SLYA Academy must up.
Yeah, 100%. I just wanted to say it's crazy that they have that big of a gold lead when it looks relatively even if we look at objectives, if we look at turrets, you know, it's not like they are running away with the game, but it's the individual leads coming through slowly but surely, especially if we look towards that bot lane now. And of trying to keep the pressure up on that bot lane. Keltis and Colombo forcing in another wave towards that mid lane. They're, of course, trying to set up for the Dragon and possibly also for the Baron, which kind of poses the question with both of them spawning at the same time. Is there a world in which you want to 50-50 that, for, like one for another? You're giving the Drake,
Absolutely.
You're taking Baron?
Absolutely. I think for SLYA, this could definitely be the response right here. You don't necessarily care about forcing Soul right here, right now, especially in a gold deficit, right? But if they give you the opening in the time to burst it down with Azir and Vayne, that purple worm is just going to fall instantly. So G2H need to actually cover themselves and make sure that they have vision on both. You know, get baited by SLYA taking the Baron away.
Well, so far they don't have a lot of vision anywhere as the Lulu Oot is coming through to save Sheena's life here. Turret ends up going down on that bot lane. We can see that Zenith has moved away just a little bit as SLYA are trying to keep them busy on this mid lane. Maybe make sure that there is a way for them not only to contest the Dragon, but also to maybe keep that turret on bot lane alive with them not being able to roam in. But G2H are playing it safe. They're stepping away. They've gotten what they came for, and now they're looking to set up for Drake.
G2H taking control of the bot side river, but look instantly, SLYA Academy, they're threatening, right? They're like, hey, if you walk towards river, we can burst on the Baron. Zenith finds an angle, a very slippery that
going in with the ultimate. Doesn't quite hit as Alcine uses the heal as a bit of tempo, but that burst damage was insane coming through from Keltis here, and now they're looking to punish them even more as Alcine on the side is dropping a little bit lower. The ultimate's coming through from the Azir, but it's not going to be enough. The turret damage does only tickle Zenith, and therefore G2H get to walk away straight towards that Dragon. It just has spawned on the map.
And that Cyan pick is just marvelous right here. Zenith literally drives past the Azir as we have Thorn getting caught here. No smite, no fight.
Oh my god, Keltis wanted that kill so badly. She even flashed for it. And you know what? It's fine. Sheena's picking up the Drake on their own. They can go for a little reset and then set their sights towards the Baron. Because with Thorn still down for 30 more seconds, I'm not sure there's a world in which SLYA can contest that one either.
And this is very important because there was always the dichotomy of SLYA potentially bursting down Baron with picks like the Azir and the Vayne, whilst G2H are trying to intercept the soul for SLYA Academy. And right here, there's no dilemma anymore. There's no dichotomy. They don't spawn at the same time. Baron live, and the next dragon is in about 5 minutes time from now. G2H with a 5.6 thousand gold lead. Third item onto their Zeri. Very close to third item onto their Cyan as well. More than happy to just walk up the river, set down their vision, and try to invite SLYA Academy for another invite in the Azir into a battle. Azir doesn't want none of that.
Nah, Azir didn't get the invite. That carrier pigeon came a little late as now Zenith stepping forward finds a double knock up here, and Alcine immediately drops really, really low again. Lulu ultimate buying some time for Zenith in that front line. Redemption coming through as well. They're trying to heal up. That's a lot used. And Solari, they don't really have the perfect positioning in that jungle. They are split up so much as Pivotless now off to the side has to be careful as Zenith is trying to make some work, make a miracle happen here. So ultimate from Aussie is now coming through, healing up her team a little bit. Zenith had to walk away. Sheena now the front line, the next target using the Crescent Guard, gets stunned into the wall, manages to walk away. But here come the ultimates. Pivotless straight into the backline, but she's being burst down by that Keltis ultimate one more time. Polymorph coming through now on Thorn as well. And G2H, they just don't want to die. The first kill's coming through only late in that fight, but make that a double for Keltis. And she wants to go on the hunt. She knows she can play this. She's feeling herself on that pick, and only that plant can save lives. And they get to walk away. Wow, what a fight again.
Damn, that was very dangerous by G2H. The way Sheena engaged sort of split her team apart. Taliyah couldn't join, Zeri couldn't join, they couldn't reach target. Tanking a lot of heat from the side of SLYA Academy, and it just looks like, again, around that Baron area, a very dangerous territory for G2H to potentially throw the game once again. But saved by Kaltis, 8 kills. And let's watch this one more time. Look at Sheena. She dives over the wall. Look at Kaltis. Look at Lulu. Look at Taliyah over the wall. They can't join. Kaltis can't really hit because Pivotless is away. Zenith is tanking too much heat. Reem is trying to break them apart from the right side, but she has to back off because she'll get engaged on. And then Sheena almost dies. And this is where they have their chances, right? Pivotless dives into the backline. You've got Pantheon ulting in, and they just can't walk out of the choke point. But it was very, very scary for Sheena to split apart this fight for G2H.
Jesus, I am sweating again. That first game already was having me at the edge of my seat. This one as well, 9k gold lead now for G2H. They have that Baron buff. They also have the 3 Void Grubs, and we know that makes those turrets melt relatively easy. They're looking to do so on 2 lanes right here, playing guard the cannon minion on bot lane very nicely. Not much else they have to do, just keeping that cannon minion buffed for the moment. Now rotating that back into mid lane, guarding the cannon minion right there. They're not really hard forcing these pushes. They don't want to step too far. I think G2 are still well aware of the fact that Solari can fight if they are in a better position than in that jungle just a second ago. And if now stepping a little far forward, he has to be careful, gets silenced, uses a little bit of a chunk of her health there, but the first turret ends up going down eventually. There's not really much more that G2H can do. They are very respectful of that base.
Yeah, I feel like they're playing and they're ping-ponging around their waves, right? The mid lane wave crashes in. They have 2 cannon minions, both Baroned up. You see Zenith sort of like dancing back and forth to try and keep the Baron buff alive. Over in the mid lane, the engage coming through.
Sheena
Bang,
dead. Forward, immediate kill for Rim here. Clef is down. Aussie even had to use her ultimate, and that didn't save her life. Now the first inhibitor has fallen. Zenith now moving into the base as well. They're looking to hit on everything at the same time. They have to be careful, trying to move a little further forward. Now SLYA Academy with their backs against the wall. Ultimate from Fawn is coming through. They're trying to reach that backline. Crescent Guard immediately loose. Zenith on the side has to be a bit careful, but the first turret ends up going down, and that's of course putting G2H in a much more comfortable position. Clef still not respawned. Ultimate coming through here from the Azir, but it's not going to be enough. Instead, she's going to pick up the kills for herself. It's another double kill. They're looking for more. It's a triple kill. They're looking to find yet another ace. They are looking for the Nexus. They decide not to turn onto Pivotless, and G2H are taking us to match point.
Very, very decisive games coming through from G2H. And you can sort of see how Vayne and why Vayne is not necessarily in the meta. I felt like every time Clef tried to dash forward, you're met with Polymorph, Taliyah rocks, Sion knockup. It was just very, very difficult. And every time, because she's such a short range carry, she tried to walk up to put down an auto attack to Q anyone. It was just very, very difficult. She was getting caught up in CC. And usually a lot of the times, they want to die even in those iterations of those fights. So G2H, they've come in with a very, very strong plan, which is ruin Thorn in the early game and then snowball their lead.
But I gotta give it to Keltis as well. You know, we've had that one team fight in game 1 where we were like, oh my God, her positioning was great. That flash that managed for her to stay alive. This game as well, at the point where she was feeling herself so much, going over the wall by herself, just looking for more kills. And I think it really shows the quality that she brings into this team as well. But now it's backs against the wall for SLYA Academy. They have to find a win right now, or their ticket to Paris is sadly not going to happen. So let's see if they can find an answer. We're going to go to a quick break, and then you should stay tuned for what's to come.
Mr. Knox, take a seat. Tell me what's going on.
There's a man inside my mind making noises. Somehow I feel like I don't have a choice in it.
Oh, okay. Tell me a little more.
He tells me I'm a chump and he tells me I'm broke. Waits around until I'm all alone.
What time? What kind of time of day or what kind of things does he say?
Edmund's pale face when the day is just a dive. He's waiting in the corner where he drives. He's so alive.
Okay.
He's a creature of the night.
And it's back against the wall for Solari now. What a dominant game again from G2. And who the hell can please take Thorn by the hands and guiding her through the first jungle clears? Because now 2 games in a row, she has been completely babysitted, but not by her own team, by G2. She now made sure that Thor was never alone.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote that down as one of the major issues that Solari have to find an answer to, which is kind of funny because that is very much a Sheena playstyle that we know, that we've known from the past. So you would expect teams to be maybe a little better prepared for that or maybe having better answers for that. And for that to be such a neck breaker for Thorn in these early levels is a little surprising to me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to the early game, again, we talked about the Pantheon and how he's slower than he used to. Never really a super fast clear, but always a pretty good skirmisher. And Sinzao kind of out clears you and out skirmishes you if he puts you behind, right? So Cultists right here sneaked in together with Sheena. They forced Thorn's flash early on. And I kind of just felt like Thorn never really found her footing in this game. I mean, they just committed 4 members down bot lane to dive a Lulu. Later on, who was roaming around 11 minutes in the game, still level 3, but it just never came into fruition.
Yeah, and this is actually the first part of a very, very long team fight that we have seen this game because both teams just wanted to really fight it out. Who's gonna take the team fight? I think Solari saw like the opportunity similar to like in game 1 to go like for the comeback angle. They had like the scaling with the Azir and also with the Vayne kind of on her hands trying their best. But after like Zenith came into the team fights, G2 also just always got like the catches out, trying to get like more appealing. And I think in general, G2 just is really on like their top on how they're team fighting for this series.
I'm sorry, I was muted.
Mila might be muted.
Cool.
Yeah,
I was muted. What I wanted to say is I think this team fight really nicely showcases that Solari did have a lot of tools. However, the fact of how long they tried to stay and still get a little more, like even here, healing back up, maybe looking to go back in because Thorn is relatively healthy now again. Like it took so much time that I think that was the first little, you know, nail in the coffin, if you want to call it that. And then here we can see they can always look for catches, but it's never really enough. And I think G2 just also had such a strong performance coming through from Keltis, especially in this specific team fight. She's feeling herself, she's stepping forward, that initial burst damage coming through with this Zeri ultimate as well. Just very nicely done from her.
I feel like Sheena, I know people might remember him from the LEC, from his time in the LEC, and of course EMEA Masters. I feel like she's very similar to 113. She's playing very aggressive to the point where that aggression is just part of your identity at this point. So you're just constantly sending it. Like this is 113's way, right? He sends it. If he gets ahead, absolutely runs everyone over. And I feel like this is Sheena as well. She sees champions, she engages champions, she invades level 1, she tries to put you into the dirt straight off the bat. And it worked, right? 0-0-15. She did absolute wonders for G2H in the early game and also re-engaging those fights, creating that front line, creating that gap between enemies and cultists on that Zeri. And now walking into the next draft slowly but surely, I'm expecting Solari to actually give me some winning lanes early on. And I'm not talking early on, I'm talking level 1. I'm talking lanes that can actually walk up and defend Thorn straight up on that level 1.
I really want to see some different lanes. I don't want Solari to drown anymore in these early games because that is has been what's been happening in the last 2 games, and they now have to step it up, because if they lose now, they are not gonna make it to the finals, and G2 are gonna take the last ticket to our offline finals at the Paris Games Week. And they have been like kind of destined to be there. They have been smurfing the whole year. They have been performing really great in the second division in the Spanish league. They have won the EC. They came into group stage without losing 1 game. And then Eterna just took like their perfect year basically from them away, at least in the female scene. And they kind of want that back. And Kelta, she was like a little bit furious also, saying that there will be more action happening in the bot lane. And I think so far also bot lane has been really hardly delivering. And I'm hoping from like a live sign of maybe something aggressive, maybe it's a Kalista, just something from Solari and a jungle pick that can survive the early.
Yeah, and we can see already the first adaptation coming through is, of course, Solari deciding to go with blue side. So they want to have that first pick. They've realized that these last picks did not really work out in their favor so much. So they want to go towards that blue side instead. And I think for G2H as well, I don't think they have like a comfort zone here, right? I think they're fine on red side. I think they're fine on blue side, because the one thing that they bring from all the experience they've had this year, especially in Spain as well, is best of 5 experience. They know how to play a series. They have a lot of resilience throughout a series. So I don't think there's anything that puts them in danger so far.
I'm wondering if right here Solari could also be looking for something like a rise for Lilith. Again, being a little bit more tanky, being able to deliver over on the side lanes. I feel like Lilith has sort of gone under the radar. We saw that insane performance onto the way, but she couldn't necessarily like pushing those team fights. And I feel like Lilith stabilizing that mid game and that early game is what Solari truly need until Thorn is on, Clef is online. And I haven't necessarily seen Lilith too much today. For now, G2H are the same. Rise is going to be the last ban right here. And the Varus being locked is something that we don't necessarily see very often anymore.
Yeah, it has been also a bit nerfed in the past. I mean, you can still play different item builds with him. But I wanted to kind of jump on a point that you made earlier, Trouble, because also in the series against that we had from Zarans, from Solari, they also had like the feeling that they needed to change something. They were also 0-2 behind, and they brought out so many different picks. We had the first time the Nafiri coming out. We had the Rise. We had the Kog'Maw Bard bot lane. And I think it might be like they might be able to bring the chaos into the league, similar to what maybe also Eterna have done. They were able to beat G2, but so far everything very, very standard.
It has to be a Wukong. Just do it straight up. Aurora, Wukong, fantastic picks. That mid jungle duo synergy is off the roof. Right here, Kaltis. I don't know how much she's been practicing her Korean or her probably a lot, or her Chinese.
She's fluent.
But she's definitely gonna have to speak not a single word of English in this particular game that we're going into.
Well, let's see what they want to go with here on the likes of jungle. I think Thorn would be very happy with picking up the Wukong for herself as well, maybe also denying it a little bit. I think there is an option there to go for that. On the other hand, we did see the hacker room come through yesterday, and I personally really enjoyed that. But I'm not going to say it's the right choice here. Nafiri, though, I really like. The only question it leaves is if you would still want to maybe pick a Nocturne now on the other hand. The synergy with the Aurora might not necessarily be the greatest, and you would need something to follow it up with, but it would definitely be an interesting jungle matchup at least.
Yeah. So what would you pick now for mid lane, maybe Trouble, to make sure that Thorn is not getting invaded with the doggo again?
Oh, I'm thinking about mid laners are actually left open. Things like potentially like even the caster if you want to play into it, but the Aurora outranges you. I'm thinking about the Nocturne right here, straight up for Sheena. We have talked about how it works really well into Nafiri because the fear still goes through. So I'm wondering if they just want to pair up the Aurora with either the Wukong or the Nocturne. G2H say screw the norm. Who cares about mid-jungle duo synergies? Everyone looks super squishy on the set of Solari. Why not just slam something like a Viego potentially? Don't get baited by hovers, Georgia. Don't get baited by hovers. It's going to be the Nautilus.
But G2 has been like smurfing today. So I'm loving also that they're going for a lot of like confidence. Meanwhile, Solari is really doing their best to kind of imitate and copy what they did in the Zaren's Bloom draft in like that third game with the Bard coming out.
I'm still kind of wondering though if it was a good choice to leave jungle open right now, right? Because I think if you're a Solari, you would definitely want to punish Sheena now a little bit because number one, she's been living in your jungle rent-free And number two, you have to be careful to bring your Nafiri ahead, because I feel like Nafiri really profits off early kills and early pressure. If she doesn't get it, it's going to get a bit rough.
I feel like they have three choices here, right? The Jarvan, the Nocturne, and the Wukong. Surely they only have three. They only have two bans, right? Surely one of the three is gonna make it to R4. The Cassiopeia that we talked about earlier, actually a really good choice right here. A lot of mobility on the Aurora plus the Ezreal, plus pretty high damage early on. And now I'm wondering, because the mid lane pool is getting pinched, we could be moving into something like an Ahri territory, which is a little bit more of a hand-stiff kind of champion lately. Not the greatest, not the most in meta right now, for good reason. A lot of single target damage though, so this could potentially pair up really nicely with the Nafiri.
Okay, we're getting into the last bans. I mean, you, as Trevor said, you want to ban out more of these jungle picks. I'm also like looking forward how bot lane is gonna play out in this game, and maybe what we're gonna have for top lane in store, because both teams also are still missing top lane, and you're playing against Zenith on red side. That's dangerous. Like, that's really, really a big danger coming up on you, because she still has like an Aurelia game open that she has to win in this tournament, and we know that she takes her win rate on this champion very, very personal.
We're getting baited. I'm not going to look at it until it's locked in.
It's
I don't
okay.
care.
Oh,
All right, it's locked in. You can look. You can just look. You can look. It has been locked in.
I mean, I'm
it was
okay with
hovered.
this.
Yeah, it was hovered on R3. It was hovered on R4. It's getting locked in right here for Sheena. Not necessarily the early game jungler that we have been looking for. However, you've got an Ezreal, an Aurora, and a Nautilus. Your level 1 looks extremely strong. But now you're going up against a Bard and a Varus that can outtrade you on this level 1. So I feel like Thorn, if she gets at least one more capable teammate to play that level 1, and that's exactly what she needed. Level 1 Vex, absolutely insane champion. So I feel like Thorn should feel extremely safe in her jungle for the early levels.
She finally gets help. She finally gets someone that
Level
can
1
lend her a helping
champ.
hand. She will get her Raptors this time for sure. They're not gonna get invaded again. Let's hope for the best in that case. And now Pivotless has to make the choice. Like, there's not really much open of her champion pool that we have seen her play before. I mean, the Poppy is out, the Cassandra's out, the Gragas was the last one that was like kinda being there. And it also, you can argument, it works against the champion pool of Zenith. But Zenith, she's a mad woman. She would pick her picks into everything. She has something for the Gragas.
By the way, what's up with these Seraphine Pie covers? Like, can you stop baiting me every single time? Like, Colombo and Aussie have been doing this for the entirety of the day, and
Yeah,
I'm getting excited.
You said you've been getting baited, but they've been doing it for the entirety of the day. Whose fault is it?
Because, no, like, I'm getting excited, but now I at least have a reason to be excited, because we are getting another Zenith special pick, one that sends you into some flashbacks if you're on the side of SLYA Academy, I would say. We've seen that one before exactly 2 months ago at Equal Esports Cup Finals, and it was a roughy McTuffy for everyone on SLYA to play into. So I don't want to put my expectation for Zenith too high here, but she will definitely feel very, very comfortable going into the game on this pick.
And I'll bring you even more towards the right now instead of the past. We saw it in the Eterna series. She played the Aurelia. She solo killed that Gragas over on the top side of the map. So she really knows how to play the matchup. She really knows how to put pressure right here. I have to say, I'm in love with both of their drafts. You know why? Because they both look like skilled diff. They've got so much agency in the fight, so much sleeperiness, so many ways of starting the fight, disengaging the fight, finding the flank, finding the deep angle. You've got the Auroras, the Ezreals, the Vexes, the Gragas. It's going to be absolute chaos.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we've been looking for from these teams. We came into the day and be like, these are two teams. They're going to figure it out in the early game. Who wins the early game probably going to win also the game and the series. And we are now standing for the opportunity for G2.H to get their 3-0, get their ticket to Paris, and send SLYA that have been like so resilient over the whole tournament, having the most games here in this tournament so far home. Who are you rooting for, Mila? Who are you seeing with the start when I like, they're going to make it?
I don't know. I mean, we know G2 to be a really, really massive, strong opponent, right? They want to go for that 3-0 here, but in order to make that happen, they have to be on top of their game. And we have seen them slacking a little bit in the past days. So let's see if SLYA can find the clutch moment that they need in order to come back in the series. It's their backs against the wall, and it's about everything, right? It's about everything. It's about the ticket to Paris, and it's about everything that they have waited for such a long time. Game changers has been a dream that all of us have had for years. And now we're here, and now both of these teams want to get their tickets. They want to go to Paris, and they want to lift that trophy.
And for G2H, it's a promise, right? They've been the strongest team for the entire year. They beat Solari in the EEC finals pretty convincingly, I would say. And now there's already a team waiting for them in the finals and has already beaten them. It's about revenge. It's about repeating what they did to Solari and then coming back for revenge versus Eterna in the finals in front of a crowd in a stadium. And right here, G2H could punch their ticket with a very convincing story of the 3-0. This time around, however, I do like that G2H kind of like weigh out the situation. They're like, listen up. E on Vex, level 1. It's probably one of the strongest abilities together with Brom potentially for early game invades. So I'm just gonna take it slow. I'm just gonna match here, top to bottom from both sides, and pretty much ping pong the bot lane wave to see who's strongest to take the bot lane Scuttle Crab.
So far, so good for Fawn in this game. Has been having a bit of a rough time in those early levels, if we remember game 1 and game 2. But here, she's actually able to pick up some of her own camps, as now Zenith is putting some early pressure onto a pivotless, which should be fine. So no big worries, but look at that solo queue win rate, 50%. Doesn't look too impressive, but if you see how much she knows the limits of her champion, it can look really good. Unless she tanks a bit of turret aggro, then it gets a bit wicky.
You didn't even finish your sentence about her taking fantastic trades. It just takes the worst trade possible, loses her flash. And right here, as bot lane is actually pushing for the side of G2H, I'm assuming that 3 is going to take the high-speed train towards the topside river. Man, Sheena, I mean...
I cannot believe it.
Has been spotted. She has to walk in. It's like, it's kind of like blue pill, red pill. If you don't invade, you die. But if you invade, you might also die. Let's see.
Well, Colombo and Kaltas are in the area. The hook doesn't quite connect as Sheena has to flash out. And now maybe Colombo stepped a bit too far forward. But Solari's focus is the jungle camp. But Sheena's coming back for it. Sheena's flipping coming back for it. I cannot believe this team. I cannot believe how much prio they put on this. And you know what? I'm just not gonna...
She didn't take it.
Thank God. Thank God. Flashes over the wall. Thorn wants to look for a bit of a kill of her own here. Of course, you want to get that Naafiri ahead early on. Works out in her favor. That's the first blood, of course, going over as Zenith forces the flash out of pivotless, which makes them a little bit more even in that topside matchup. Both of them taking a good chunk of damage here.
And this is where my 1-1-3 theory comes through. If you're always aggressive, you're not really good, you're always predictable. And they know that Sheena is somehow going to find an angle to invade enemy jungle. And right there, they were waiting for her. They warded the entrance. They played around the Nautilus, around the Bard early on. Again, Bard, a very strong champion. They roamed Lilith with the Vex towards jungle as well. They literally closed all entries for Sheena. And then she returns after she burns her flash. And then Colombo has to blow her flash for Sheena's decisions. And she goes down. 1 kill for Naafiri. And Thorn should be very, very happy for that decision.
Yeah. Agreed. That's probably about it for the moment. 30 seconds until the next dragon spawns. The first dragon, rather. The next dragon would be crazy in minute 5, but it's only the first one. No worries. The game is not glitched. And let's see if they want to create a bit more prio in order to actually early on commit for this. We can see Colombo again, very roam heavy. Level 3 immediately on the map, gets spotted in that bush though. So Lilith should be able to stay safe as Zenith stepping a bit further forward again. Looking for a bit of damage being dealt to Pivotless. Both of them no flash. Pivotless has to respect the damage output. And of course, that wave that Zenith has now stacked forces Pivotless further underneath her turret.
And the very important part right here is the bodies for Pivotless. If she actually uses the body slam to get away from Aurelia, Aurelia will Q, she'll get back onto Gragas. So she needs to use her body slam under tower if Zenith overextends, which is what took Zenith's flash in the first place onto this Aurelia. But she's very used to the matchup. We did see it in the Eterna series as well, so got a solo kill right there on the Aurelia. However, I will say that it feels like a very hard and not game at the same time for Aurelia. A lot of range with Vex, Varus, and Bard, which is really hard for Melee champion around, right? A lot of crowd control with the Bard and the Vex as well. However, if she does make her way into that backline and that CC is not there, everyone is super squishy from the side of Solar.
She's now looking for a little bit of a gank, but Thorn in the area as well. She will be spotted though, as Clef is taking a lot of damage here early in this fight situation. She not only now able to move in, Clef has to be a little bit careful, manages to work out a way.
Everyone's
Lith
here.
and Rim also coming in. Beautiful stun landing onto both Keltis and Colombo, and that denies the tempo from G2H, who are now forced to walk away.
Damn, they're actually all on their toes. The second the fight's about to start, you see mid laners instantly starting to roam on the map because there's also a dragon that's up for grabs. This time around, it's going to be for G2H as the bot lane wave was pushed out by Cultist and Colombo. So compensation price right there for G2H will be the first dragon of the game, and let's see when the first resets will start to come through from the Void Grubs, because it's a very late dragon considering the Void Grubs already spawn in 1 minute and 10 seconds. So usually you want to be able to switch around the 130, 120 mark.
Pivotus and Zenith are going back at it, as Zenith is dealing a decent amount of damage, but Thorn is now in the area. That's beautiful, coming through the ultimate here from Pivotless as well. And now Zenith has to be careful.
No way!
Pick one up, but they make it a 1-for-1 as Thorn gets her second kill of the game.
Wow, Zenith trading 1-for-1. This situation is pretty big. However, she's going to use a huge chunk on the top side.
Ooh, the chain of corruption went wide, and now that's an easy pickup for G2H, picking up a second kill for themselves. Going on to Keltis on the spot lane, they're able to push in that wave, pick up the first plating as well, and then go for a very nice and comfortable reset.
Yeah, fluent Korean / Chinese coming right there out of Keltis. And let's watch this one more time and look at the body slam. We said the body slam is going to be the most important thing. What Pivotless does here is using them to make sure she lands the cast to throw Zenith towards Thorn coming through that river. Ends up trading the 1-for-1, but again, she loses a huge wave, which is about a wave and a half stuck up underneath the tower. So a lot of that gold that Irelia could pick up extra onto the Gragas, and that 15 CS gold lead has now been closed down just a tad.
Grubbies are here, both junglers roaming towards top side. You see Lilith trying to get a little bit of push on this mid lane, but it is a bit more in Rim's favor, at least for the moment. She's able to move a little earlier on, and I think Thorn will just try to smite away that first grub if possible, because she's not in the best position to actually contest these smites coming through. Doesn't quite hit though. Goes over to G2H instead, because Sheena wanted to make sure that they are not giving up a single one of these Kevins. They are all going into the bags of G2H here, who are trying to set up their early game nicely again by picking up all the neutral objectives in the first few minutes.
Yeah, it's also a little bit of a head scratcher right here because the reset came through late. So I think SLYA didn't expect the reset to come through. And I think they're actually stronger. Vex in the early levels together with the Nafiri and the Bard can really create a lot of chaos in these team fights. However, SLYA chose to play it a little bit more slow and try to push out the waves instead. I will say champions like Vex, they don't fare out super nicely in the late game. You're kind of a burst champion and you lose your edge a lot when a lot of HP gets built through onto your opponents. So that 1 to 2 item mark on the Vex is usually when you want to start really fighting, and this is where she actually spikes as a champ as well.
Sheena is in the area, so Keltis and Colombo should be relatively comfortable, but we can see on the map that Thorn is on bot side as well. So far has been able to pick up 2 of these early kills that you definitely need on the Nafiri. And it's going to be a bit of a game of junglers again, at least in my world. Sheena, on the other hand, hasn't really had the chance to pick up any kills. Has been more of a passenger, I would say, in these early fights. Looking to step in again, though. They weren't quite on the same page there. Sheena's only now moving in, but it should be enough to pick up AOC, and that's the Field of Warfare secured for G2H, and the kill that we wanted Sheena to get. I love when they just listen to us and do what we say, you know?
Wait, that was the shortest portal in history. And Sheena kept looping back in Clef under tower, no flash. Thorn is around to defend that. Sheena will get spotted here.
Sheena's trying to hide in her own fog. Has to use the ultimate to escape. That's one Heartbreaker gone as the TP is now coming in. Sheena dropping extremely low. The hook only hits the wall as Sheena has to flash out. And now Lilith in the area as well. They're looking to still capitalize off of this. It's not going to be enough. Rim has burned her TP. And it was really for nothing as they're not able to move in any further.
Man, I'm just wondering what Emtis and the coaching staff are saying in the back when Sheena like gets a great, I want to say kill steal right there because didn't necessarily do much to take the bar down, but still got the kill. But at the end of the day, she's like, you know what? Screw it. We go for more, even though Thorn is coming, the support has spawned. Talking about the support, nice Bartle.
Yeah, ultimate's coming through. Stun hits immediately after, and I think Columbus just gonna sacrifice herself here in order to keep Keltis safe, who's moved underneath the turret. Little numbers advantage here now for SLYA Academy. Let's see if Keltis wants to stay underneath the turret or if SLYA want to go for more. They could potentially look at the dive, especially with the wave coming in now. As Zenith was, of course, in the proxy. No questions asked there. Pulls the ultimate. Nice splash from Pivotless, though, keeping her safe underneath the turret.
I actually have questions.
Yeah? Okay. Sure.
No questions asked. I actually have questions. What is Marelia doing walking under tower versus a Gragas tanking 2 tower shots?
Nice,
And
she
in the
got
end,
the
it's
drop.
the Gragas that has to flash. Lilith, no
this is
fear.
fine. Lilith should be fine, though, in turret range. Who comes through, commits onto Thorn, who also gets a death charge right into her face. Manages to stay alive at least for a little bit longer and walks away in the end. But that was some nice damage output coming through from G2H there.
And straight to Dragon, G2H go. They're fantastic at taking very aggressive trades right before.
Oh,
those
Thorn is not going back.
Thorn on super low HP. She realized she's been seen by this ward, so instead, unless Clef pulls a Gumayushi right here, and still with the Q over a smite from Sheena.
I mean, there is a world in which I can see that happening. G2H definitely want to respect it. Between worlds now coming out, though, and that gets the kill onto Thorn, and without the jungle, no way to contest this. They even pick up another kill onto the enemy support, too. And that's 2 kills and a dragon in the backs of G2H, who are now 1.7k ahead in gold. And that's a decent number for what we've seen today.
Yeah, honestly, it hasn't necessarily looked like G2H are super dominating around the map. Thorn walks up with super low HP. Remon, she has to walk up to her, get her combo going. And Thorn dies right there, which means, again, no smite, no fight for the side of SLYA Academy. They lose the 50-50. They lose 2 members as well. And a 2,000 gold lead, you mentioned it, from the side of G2H, primarily onto their carries as well. Trinity Force just completed for Kaltis. Boots just completed for Kaltis. Both Irelia and Aurora have got the first item. And it's actually very scary when you've got a composition with double Trinity Force and they both get completed at the same time. It's actually a huge spike because this item has a lot of stats. Oh my god, the flash!
Okay.
Blinka, you missed it!
Wow. That was something. Keltis throwing the ultimate on that mid lane wave in order to chunk it down a little bit before picking it up eventually. Lilith just forced to stay underneath her turret for the moment. Does have a range to play with. Not necessarily an easy position to be in for her. And we were really excited about the Vex, especially for the early game. However, she has not really been that much of a factor. And now Pivotless, faced with yet another ultimate coming through from Zenith, uses her own ult to kind of disengage that scenario. But here comes Sheena. Slow is coming through onto Zenith. And oh my god, okay, she is not getting out of this one, I'm sorry. But the moment I saw Colombo walk in as well, I knew it was over. Reset now for Sheena as well. And Zenith just enjoys the turret shot,
guys,
I think.
That tower had not reset, it was still ramped up. So Zenith got 2 hefty tower shots right there from the ramped up tower. She's gonna eventually get that top lane one. Of course, it's not gonna benefit feats of strength because have already been claimed by G2H and Rim. 3v1.
She has to use the ultimate early there, but does not quite land too much damage. Now Thorn has to go untargetable, manages to pick up the shutdown. That's a 3rd kill going into the bags of the Nafira here. But Sheena is moving in. Colombo's in the area as well. The doggos are coming through. Colombo flashing forward, immediately forces out the flash from Aussie as well. Hits the hook onto Thorn, tumbles over the wall. Depth charge, though, is coming through as they are now looking to deal some more damage. Ultimate from Kelt is only going wide, and therefore SLYA managed to walk away. At least that's what it looks like. But I think they are actually fine here.
Sheena just sent it over the wall, just flashed over. But her Q had already expired, so there was no follow-up right there. Even though Colombo had a fantastic engage, there was just no follow-up from the rest of L. So Sheena loses her flash right there, and SLYA Academy get out scot-free as Lilith is gonna use her EQ combo. Ooh, aren't you happy that Q didn't hit right there, Colombo?
First items coming through now as well for the bot lane there. We can see the redemption completed. We can see the hubris for Clef. But that's another turret for Zenith. And we gotta say it, right? Zenith has been living on those side lanes, picking up turrets left, front, and center for all the previous games. And she's been doing a banger job at that.
Hold on a minute.
Therefore has always been a factor, yeah?
I've just
We're holding
realized
it.
that we've been saying that Pivotless is more of a Baus Champo kind of player, but I feel like Zenith has migrated towards that today. We've had a Jax, Irelia, and Sion game. That is textbook Baus.
That is true. Yeah, you're
The
absolutely right.
builds don't match up, but still.
Well, she's doing a decent job at least. Looking to find Clef here, and I don't think Clef has any answers for this. No flash, won't make it out alive, and that's, of course, a very dead AD carry as Pivotless. Now in a bit of danger here for herself. Colombo in the area as well. She's trying to walk away, but only walks into the next enemy, uses the ultimate to buy some time. It's not going to be enough. That's another kill going over to G2H as Keltis now got caught out. Shot down in the backs of Thorn, and they are really trying to at least feed some damage into that carry jungler, into that nefarious AOC is now caught behind enemy lines, not gonna make it out alive. Sheena with the reset. And Zenith picks up another turret. Sure, no, why not? Of course.
You can't see Zenith on the map. She can't see you either. Because she's probably on the sideline, has no idea what her support looks like. She's just perma-pushing. At this point, just grab a Hullbreaker. Who cares?
I mean,
Hullbreaker or
I think
Hullcrusher? Which one is the League of Legends iteration?
Hullbreaker. It's Hullbreaker.
Thank you. So
It's
it was correct the
Hullbreaker.
first time. Okay.
No, I only know,
you know what?
because
I
there
just
was a
outed
wonky
myself.
Jinx build. Do you know? Remember that Hullbreaker Jinx one? Yeah, that traumatized me so much that I will never forget the name of that item. As Rim, maybe looking to forget this situation. Thorn actually not able to pick up a lot of damage there. So Rim is fine.
Dragon up.
Walk away.
Yep, Dragon's up.
Ooh, they're looking for a catch.
Sprinting at it, Rim. She dies here. The Dragon will not be in the cards for G2H. Managed to stay safe right here. Was just chipping away a couple of kills. Being ahead in CS. It's a 5,000 gold lead, and it's all accumulated into the solo laners of G2H, Zenith and Rim. And that's going to be
Look
so
at that.
point for G2H. I think dropping for the upper bracket made them really mad. If this is a 3-0, I think Eterna might have a lot of work to do in the finals.
Yeah, Eterna might be that chuckles, I'm in danger type meme, because that's what I would feel like if I knew I had to face G2H for yet another time. However, Solari still kind of in their comfort zone. We've talked about it. They usually take at least one game to warm up within the series before coming online. But today they seem to be on the back foot quite a lot as Thorn now steps a bit too far forward. Has to be careful. Bard ultimate coming in clutch. But now the question is, can they reposition enough to actually play this fight as AOC has to go through the portal over the wall between World's been used by Rim, who also took a lot of damage, but they're going straight into the backline. That's Thorn down, and now AOC and Lilith are both caught inside that Irelia ultimate. Is a double kill coming through for Sheena. Triple kill at least. You know, they're looking to spawn that Herald on bot side. They do have 3 Void Grubs. They have the Herald, and they're looking to pick up at least one more turret here with the wave coming through. They want to open up the base in minute 19. Looking for that inhibitor as well.
That
3 Void Grubs
they
coming
could
in
be
clutch.
looking for the end.
Oh my god, if they're looking for the end, I'm going to lose my mind as Sheena is stepping back into that Herald, looking to get at least another turret hit.
Surely not.
Zenith maybe a little bit far forward. Now without the wave, they have to retreat here. It's not going to be the end just yet. But the pressure is on for SLYA Academy as G2 has to find a way to walk away. AOC finds Zenith. Zenith is going back in. She's going to sacrifice herself in order for the rest of her team to walk away. She's dealing some decent damage. Won't be the kill in the end, but that's another down. And Keltis' ultimate just snipes them away. Pivotless.
Rim?
A little far forward, looking to deny those back paws. And they are TPing now into the backline. Lilith on a great flank position here. If they can find this fight, that could be the comeback arc that they need. Colombo dropping extremely low. Won't end up going down just yet as Lilith is kind of looking for a redemption. Not quite in range. Call of the pack coming through. Thorn stepping further forward. Keltis is the next target. They are committing for her as Rim is on a killing spree, taking down that Vex before she can be a factor in the fight. Pivotless still alive, hanging on by a thread there. Sheena over the wall with a Heartbreaker finds that kill. And now G2 are able to capitalize off of the overforcing of SLYA Academy. And it's the day of the longest team fights ever. And let's see if AOC ends up going down as well. Yes, there we go. Another reset. And I would call it an ace, but Clef has respawned already. So there you go.
Sheena. She picks up every single champion that goes down jumps through the portal as Bard, grabs Gragas, re-engages instantly, takes the portal as Nafiri, keeps chasing. What an incredible performance from Sheena in this game, taking a back seat in the early game. Oh my God, whatever, man. Like, his name is game 4, okay?
I cannot!
She's not seen champions, she's only seen structures, she's only seen neutral objectives, and just takes them down. This
Oh
is
my
absolute
God.
dominance coming through from G2H. 21 minutes in, 9,000 gold. What a great comeback after getting thrown down to the wolves, to that lower bracket, and they're looking to finish this in a 3-0 manner.
And it is so on brand for G2H to go for the content route, to be like, you know what, let's just give you a little bit more gaming, give you a little bit more content for this one, but then stepping up when it matters. It's what they've been doing the entire year. They have been almost undefeated in Equal Esports Cup, and they have been almost undefeated in Game Changers so far. So let's see if they can actually make this happen at a 3-0 SLYA Academy with their backs against the wall. They have faced G2H in a final before, and it looked close. But this best of 5 has been the G2 show through and through, as Pivotless is now under a bit of pressure on this bot side here. G2 are playing it a little less aggressive, don't want to commit too far forward, don't have a wave here. Instead, they're rotating back towards the mid lane.
Yeah. There's no Baron on the table, right? So those waves are getting cleared really fast by the Vex and the Varus. G2H, they don't want to overforce the issue right here. The 10,000 gold in the lead, why would they want to throw it right here, right now? When they've got the 3-0 in the bag. And again, those champions of the side of SLYA Academy, they fall off. Hubris, Varus, when you're behind, doesn't make much sense this late into the game. One item Varus, one item poke Varus and Vex. They just don't quite do it. So G2H, as long as they play slow, wait for their wave, they can just enter base now.
That turret is dropping immediately. Waves cleared through the ultimate coming through as well as the hook connects. Now Colombo stepping forward. That charge also hits immediately into that backline. Lith has to be careful as they're now stepping forward. Thorn trying to go on target, so buying some space, buying some time. That Redemption not really doing too much here as Pivotless is the next target. The inhibitor has fallen. The waves are coming in now, mid lane and top lane at the same time almost. And SLYA have to make a bit of a miracle happen here in order to keep their hopes alive, to go to Paris, to play against Eterna. But instead, G2H are looking to end it right here, right now, as Clef is going down. Thorn is going untargetable one more time, but that's 3 members only standing on the side of SLYA Academy as the turrets are slowly dropping down further and further. The Between Worlds is coming through, and now it's only 2 members left alive. The turret is falling. The turret is dropping health as we speak, and that's an open nexus now on the side of SLYA Academy. They have to make a miracle happen, but the miracle's not gonna happen today, not this year, as G2H are taking back their names as our tournament favorites and moving on to the finals to face Eterna.
What a decisive series for G2 to solidify themselves in the finals in Paris game. See, people didn't believe. No, because people didn't believe I was actually in Paris. See, it is night. As some people saying, how is it still light there? It's not. It's night. You see?
There are some things that are sure for sure. Sheena is insane in jungle. G2 goes to Paris finals, and Troubleink is really sitting in front of the Eiffel Tower right now,
really
as we can all see from the camera. So it's 100% happening, and I'm just like so positively surprised how dominant the series was. I was like getting ready for like a 5-game banger in the end, but G2 were just like so decisive, so dominant in what they wanted to do today, and they absolutely deserve their golden ticket, their slot in Paris.
Wow, I'm speechless.
Yeah.
Honestly, after all of these long, dragging team fights, I've lost all of the words that I had for the day. I'm not gonna lie, but I think this is very on brand for G2. I already said it in a cast a little bit, right? They went for the content route. They were a little shaky to begin with, but this just shows why we can never count them out, because they step up when it matters. And Trouble said it very nicely. If I was Eterna, I'd feel a little worried right now.
Yeah, maybe G2 just needed a little bit of challenge in order to bring back their full potential. Maybe Eterna was like the challenge that they needed, because in this game it really felt like Sheena. She was like trying out limits. She was just testing, can I go in there again? And yeah, this time, unfortunately for her sake, it was worth it.
I feel like they poked the beast. When you asked
Mhm.
Taltis, how does she feel that Clef is bringing more early game type champions, actually takes control of a laning phase? She's like, you know what? This is what fuels me. I hope she does, because then I will play even better. And I feel like this sort of resonates with the entire G2H roster. I feel like Eterna gave them the push to go back, review the series, and come through even stronger. Going into today, I truly thought SLYA Academy had a really big chance with the way they were playing yesterday to take down G2H, and G2H shut me the hell up.
Yeah, and it was just like one montage play after another, especially this one from like the Viego, just taking like all of these different abilities, toying it with the enemies. And I really love that we see the same G2 and like the same bloodlusty G2 in the finals against Eterna again, because I think then we will have like a 5-game banger live on stage, and there's nothing more exciting than having two teams that are on a completely same level. And also, I mean, G2, they tried to end the game really, really early. Maybe we would have seen nearly a Dancing Herald, but in the end, we can also see clearly and the goal difference that day game was done quickly.
Yeah, they were never really in danger, I think. I feel like the early game played out a little slower than we saw in the last games, right? I think part of that is also because Thorn actually had a great start, accumulating some of these kills that are necessary on a champion like Neferi. So I think that's why the early game, until like a few minutes, was relatively even. But then as soon as Sheena and also Rim started to get out of control, it snowballed and snowballed. But we got to point out Zenith again. She has been doing a phenomenal job here all day long, pushing these side lanes, always picking up turrets, and therefore keeping the pressure high on Solari.
All right, there has been some banter back and forth. Apparently, we will have Zenith as an interview later on, but she's still split pushing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when we catch a chance to get her, and apparently our producer has been hit by an Aurelia, he tried to split push into Zenith, and that didn't work out either.
Yeah.
So when we
Appointment
do have her
calendar is
with us,
cool.
we'll let you know when she's done split push, and she will join us for an interview. But again, commiserations obviously to SLYA Academy. I
Yeah.
truly think they brought true soul in the tournament. I enjoyed particularly the interviews and giving us insights into the background of the team and who does what, who's the leader. Huge shout out to all of them. And I feel like they have made a run to really, really, really be proud of.
And I also feel like we could see such a big development from them. Us, of course, me and Annika, who were able to see them in Equal Esports Cup and seeing some of their highs and lows and their struggles and stuff like that. And I feel like coming into this tournament, it was very early on, very clear that they are serious, that they want to win this, that they want to put themselves in the best position. And the development they have had as a team, also coming in and saying, look, our early games are heinous, we need to do something about it, right? I appreciate that honesty, and I also appreciate to see them working this hard on themselves. And I honestly can't wait to see what's next for these players. I, of course, love Pivotless and Clev from Chester Gaming last year. Quick shout out to the cat, of course. But yeah, huge year for Solari, if you ask me. Even if they don't make finals here, I think they've had a great year. And they are definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, also we want to see them back. We want to see Solari next year coming for the crown, because they've been second in EC, third now in Game Changers. There is a crown to get in the next year, definitely. I mean, it might feel like very anticlimactic because it has been like the 0-3, but I also think Pivotless is already giving out hugs to all her team members, making sure that everybody is comforted, because that's what Pivotless doing best, being the steadfast presence. And I'm really also hoping that we are going to see all these amazing players next year again, because we have started like also this tournament with like 8 teams trying to battle it out, and I really love that we had like such close series all the time, showing how competitive and like how hardly this league is fought in. And in the end, we narrowed it down again to our top teams with Eterna and G2.
I'm actually very, very excited because you guys, if you have the chance to take a trip to Paris Gaming Week in 2 weeks from now, it's going to be an absolute banger. There's going to be LGC finals. There's going to be Mia Masters finals. It's going to be absolutely incredible. We have so many great teams. And I feel like particularly for our LGC first year, first season for G2H and Eterna walking up on stage in front of a crowd, playing with the cheers. It's going to be an incredible, incredible atmosphere. So if you can join us, please do. It's going to be fantastic. And I mean, if we can maybe put out even the bracket just to see how we got here this far, just so we can visualize it with our viewers as well. We're not going to do that because I've just seen that we have Zenith.
We have Zenith ready. We have the split push top lane queen ready for us to
She's
talk with
done.
us after her victory.
She's done split pushing.
Yes,
Bring her in.
she had the Atakan, she had the towers, she's ready to be with us. Hello Zenith, congratulations for going to finals.
Thank you. I wasn't prepared. I thought I had some more time. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. Take your time as much as you need. First, congratulations again. What an amazing series. How excited are you to go to Paris?
I'm mega excited. I think I speak for the entire team. We all badly wanted to go. That's why the series against Eterna was kind of like, didn't go our way. But yeah, we end up going to Paris anyway. So I'm really happy.
Yeah, you just talked about it. Eterna was a bit rough, but was maybe the loss against Eterna what G2H needed to reignite their spark and Stomp today?
Well, honestly, our spark was never, I don't know how to say it in English, but we didn't need to reignite our spark, but it was a reality check. And honestly, I don't want to say I'm glad we lost, because I'm not. I'm obviously upset. But I'm so happy. I love the fact that Eterna is a really good competition, and yeah, that's super cool. I don't know.
Yeah, we love that definitely. And I think we're like really looking forward to see you like face Starry again, because it was like really interesting how you were like going back and forth in the matchup. Are we also gonna see all the special Zenith plays at the place in Paris? And should people just come to see you play Vayne at Irelia?
Not just Vayne Irelia. I'm gonna pick Nass's top lane. I almost considered Nass's top lane in this series. It was kind of on SLYA.
So I'm really, really hoping that we'll be able to see it. Maybe against, like, to come back closely to it today before we're going to talk more about the future. It was also the rematch of the ESC that you have beaten SLYA now twice in a row. And it would also be your third consecutive title in the female scene, with winning ESC last year, then winning ESC this year, and now winning Game Changers. How do you feel just being so successful?
Does it count as like the third title? Or do we have to view it separately? Because I was wondering, this would be really cool, because I think I was the first to win 2, right? I'm not sure. So making it 3 would be so cool. I don't know.
So we are really looking forward to see you just playing again in Paris. So maybe how are you going to prepare as team? Are you going to have a boot camp beforehand, or how are you going to use the time now that you have in order to prepare purposely for Paris?
First things first, I will look up all the cool shops in Paris to go shopping to. That's the most important part. And after that, well, we've done some preparations against Eterna already, and I don't think it was our preparations that failed us last time, so we'll see. But maybe we do some more scouting, but I'm not gonna tell you about that. I'm sorry.
I mean, also because you're kind of playing against Eterna, which is like cooperating with SLYA, and G2 is also playing against SLYA. Who are you thinking is gonna have the head first, and are you gonna win against the Game Changers Rising SLYA too?
I mean, I'm not gonna say no. Like we're obviously going to win. But sorry, I didn't really catch the question. What about FlyQuest? I know they're sponsored by FlyQuest and everything.
Yeah, no, G2 and FlyQuest playing at Worlds against each other, and because Eterna is also kind of partnered with SLYA, so it's kind of like you're both playing against each other. Are you gonna win? Is you gonna be victorious over NA?
Both teams, 100%.
I will love that. We will love to hear that, to bring back the title home. And even if the main team doesn't, at least the female team is always one to be counted on. Thank you so much, Zenith. And I'm looking forward. If you find any good shops in Paris, tell me, because I also need to find some good shops. Also bring a capybara, and then we will see at Paris. Thank you so much, and bye.
Thanks for the interview. Bye-bye.
I love Zenith. It's always such an honor to speak with her because she's just like smurfing so hard in lane and just like completely alphaing everybody on top lane.
I
Then she
don't
comes
get
to
it.
you just like, yo.
I don't get it. She's the sweetest, and then she has the most psychotic place.
Yes.
It's literally yin and yang.
You should see her key bindings.
What? No way.
No.
Wait.
We're not- we're
wait.
no,
Haven't we told
no.
Trouble yet how she has her key bindings?
We have not. We were telling you. I was telling you not to talk about the key bindings because we might lose trouble if we actually mention it.
I forgot, Mila. I'm so sorry.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, forget
Okay,
about
I'll
it.
bring up the bracket.
I'll figure them out on Paris game in a week, you know?
We're gonna figure out, because we're gonna see both of these teams live at the Paris Games Week on the 31st of October, playing live on stage. We got the Nasus promise. We also had some spacey comments already coming out from C. I'm so hoping we will see a lot of banter from both of these teams, because these are both teams, they are so hyped. They are also like so open about their strategies, and I just love to see the spiciness that they bring to this league.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's going to be really interesting. I love that Zenith also pointed out that she's actually excited to play Eterna because they seem to be a really good opponent. And I think that is something that... that sounds so bad to say that, but I think that's something that G2 has been actually lacking when it comes to their own development within the female scene as well, is that there was not a really strong competition for a while. And now with Eterna actually pushing them and pushing their limits a little bit, I think this can be a lot of fun for the players, but also for the viewers, of course.
Oh, God. Zenith just said her flashes on N.
Oh,
Okay.
Zenith! We told you not to talk about it!
Yeah,
Annika, take the wheel, please.
Yeah,
Just take the wheel.
I think that's like the only thing that we can still say to this is thank you for watching this wonderful broadcast with us again, cheering for this league and being there for our teams. Also, if you have the time and if you're being like, oh God, I want to see this girls live, come with us to Paris. You are hardly invited to be there with us and share some good time. Also, thank you, of course, to my wonderful casters that have been here with me the whole evening, and also to our production crew over at VBedia, making possible that we have Trouble Inc. live from Paris in front of the Eiffel Tower.
Yep.
And also...
I'm a little cold because I'm outside, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's getting cold. We have to send her to bed really soon. And also thank you to the LEC for letting us take over their channel again. And I wish you a lot of fun watching Worlds and also cheering for our girls. Sorry.
Yes.
Goodbye. Good night. Bye.
Bye,
See you over
Bye,
in A.
Bye.
See you over
See
in A. See you in Paris.
Remember we had faith. Do you remember the good days? Will they fade away? Will they fade? Will they fade? Oh, when you need my love, you never call when you need my love. I'll give